NUFC Early Night News with Gary the Geordie Yum Yum, Andrew Bokey, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
Good evening. Eventually we get there. It was an issue, unfortunately. Techies playing their usual wisdom with me. I'm not a massive techie fan, but we managed to get on anyway. Welcome one and all post a bit of a drilling, a lesson learned out
the
in Spain.
morning after the night before, but not in a good way.
Yeah, indeed. The usual crew with us this Thursday evening, where we've got a lot to shuffle through, lots of rumours and everything else. Obviously, we've got the Mackhams this weekend, so lots for Eddie to also sort out, I must admit. So we've got the Mighty Win, Bokey, Christina Tooney, and obviously myself. I've put myself as Gaza, because obviously I keep changing names every night, so I might as well change mine. But it's not. It's obviously what people like to hear. Everybody, obviously, across the YouTube channels, and also everybody listening on DAB radio, if you have the opportunity to smash the likes, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell, and obviously if you do want to become a member, it certainly would help us off. As we start. So, I suppose there's only one thing to really do, and that's to get on with the opener. Good evening, and welcome back to the Toon. The only football show where supporting Newcastle United this week feels like a binge watching a drama. A series that forgot to write a happy ending. 1 minute you're dreaming of UEFA Champions League, the next you're conceding 7 in Barca, and questioning your life choices somewhere around goal number 5. Meanwhile, Bruno Guimaraes is being linked with half of Europe. The dressing room's under investigation like a crime scene. And just to calm everything down, we've got the Tyne and Weird derby on Sunday. Perfect timing? Absolutely ideal. So tonight, we unpack the chaos, the collapse, the transfer noise, and ask the big question. How did Newcastle respond when it really matters? Lady and gentlemen, like I said, lesson learnt, I think, out in Spain. 75% of the game, I thought Newcastle actually took it to the big boys. But whatever happened, whatever discussion was taking place, and again, you listen to a lot of noise during social media, people saying there was lots of voices at half-time that weren't happy within the dressing room. Do you think that was something that was the issue? Do you think the lads come out with this different mentality? Or do you just think it was, again, Hansi Flick switching this is how you beat a press scenario? Because it seemed as though that was a certainly different Barcelona in the second half than what I witnessed in the first 3 quarters of the game. What's your thoughts, Win?
Let us address, we've got a lovely comment straight in from Becca, bless her, and just saying, hi guys, so I'm guessing that the happy clappers are about to tell us that the overreaction to the game last night is partial and ridiculous. Oh, and Eddie is still elite. Am I close? Lol. Well, not really close, because there is no doubt about it. Last night was embarrassing. And it could have been worse. Could have been a lot better, but it could have been worse. But what happened last night was nothing down to tactics or formations or team selections. What happened last night, every goal was down to at least one massive individual error. In several cases, more than one. But the goals that we conceded last night weren't goals that Barcelona even had to create. As regards the dressing room turmoil, which is all over social media, I have yet to see a definitive account by a reputable source that did indeed happen. Would it account for our ridiculously slow start to the second half? Yes, it would. So in a way, I would like to think that it did happen for two reasons. One, because it means the team care, and that the alleged forward block were firing 6 barrels at the defenders for all of their mistakes, which is what I want. I want my players to care. And was that all preying on their mind when they came out for the second half? Because as I said in the reaction last night, if I was Eddie Howe at half time, my team talk would have been very simple. Go out and do the same again. Because in the first half, apart from the individual, so it might have been go out and do the same, but don't make stupid mistakes like you've just done. Because there was no reason why that wouldn't necessarily have worked. Nonetheless, as an advertisement for Newcastle United Football Club, in the spotlight against one of the biggest clubs in the world, with the world watching, anybody looking at Newcastle United thinking, oh, there's a potential place I want to be associated with, I want to advertise with, I want to spend money with, could be looking at that and saying, ooh, I don't want to be associated with this lot. These lot are going nowhere. So you pays your money, you takes your choice. Go on, Pokey, 6 barrels, son.
Well done, Wayne, on trying to justify that last night. You know, well done. You tried your best there, but we could all hear in your voice there's no justification. There's no justification in regards to that one game as a solo thing. How do you come out and end up with that after half time? And there's no justification in that game based on the full season. This isn't a one-off thing. This isn't a thing that's just happened in the Champions League. If it had, if you'd went out against Barcelona and that had just happened against Barcelona and it was a one-off game, you know, we'd just lost it in the second half, fair enough. But it's not. It's a repeat of all season. It's exactly where we've been all season. I came out positive. I wanted to beat Barcelona, you know, of course we did. We all did. We're here on Tuesday sitting here giving it the big end, and we've done it all season. And yet again, we'll go on just to fail completely. You know, that was absolute disgrace. They stopped trying. I don't know. You say there's no proof being out that the dressing room did have an argument at half time. There's been no journalist came out after the rumours have started saying there wasn't any bust up at half time. So, you know, it could be either way, but that really isn't the point. The point is the team did not try in the second half. The team gave up in the second half.
After the first 2 goals went in, yeah.
The team are giving up on Eddie Howe. You know, I think everybody's given up on Eddie Howe. Let's face it, I don't have to sit here and say it anymore now. You know, it's
I'm sure you will, though.
It's for you to justify keeping them the night, not for me to justify getting rid of them. It's very easy for me to come on here the night and see he's an absolute disgrace and get him out of the club, but I'm not going to do that. I want you to justify keeping him at the club. After that, and the results this season, and the money he spent, we had £129 million worth of striker on the bench that didn't even get a chance. You know, how do you justify this? How do you go down the route of we're not actually playing a recognised striker up front? How do you go down the route that we've got to this position in March where, you know, we haven't integrated the players that we got in the summer? The season's now a disaster. we're ninth in the Premier League, and you use this metric around, this whatever the hell it is about European teams and things like that. We don't need to rely on European teams. We should be higher up in ninth in the league. We should have got through to a final of a cup competition. If we weren't going to compete in the league, that would be the only justification. Come on, you still justified it. It's not up to me to sit here and do that tonight.
Shout out to Wissa with a super
Tina
chat.
Rassi first.
but
After we've thanked Wazza for his super chat, last night was a reflection of my lovely. Boo-hoo.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's been said. It was a for three halves in that match, and I'm talking about obviously the first leg and then the second leg combined. We played some really, really good football. Had it not been for a few defensive mistakes in the first half, rather gaping mistakes, of course. But had it not been for those defensive mistakes, I mean, we could have went into the dressing room at half time in a completely different fettle. Has there been a bust up at half time? I honestly don't know. I would like to see some sort of report on that. I don't see any reason why there necessarily would be. I mean, there was defensive errors, but we've went in there, we've scored a couple of goals. Elanga's done himself an absolute glory in that game with a couple of goals against Barcelona at the Camp Nou. So for him, that was it was nice to see some sort of payoff for him this season. After I think the Barcelona game at the very start of the season was the one where things kind of toppled a little bit for him when he put that ball in for Gordon, and then Gordon swing and a miss, shall we say. So, I mean, what could you really say? I mean, by the end it was almost comical. The team definitely came out, hung their heads in that second half. I didn't really see any fight from the team. Wynn said earlier that if he had been the manager of Newcastle United at half-time, what he would have said is, go out there, do the same, but don't make the individual errors. And I think maybe Eddie Howe said that, and the players misheard, and they heard, go out there, make lots of individual errors, because that's what they did in the second half. It was, which I can understand. I mean, it was probably loud, and it was, the acoustics in the dressing room, they're not used to that. There was a chance that they've just misheard, completely misunderstood, went out there, delivered exactly what they were told to do, but obviously they've just misheard, so it's not a good thing. I'll answer some of that Borky asked as well. We've got £65 million worth of striker on the bench. Why didn't we play it? Because our top goal scorer in Europe's Anthony Gordon, who we did play up front. That's probably why you don't play the £65 million of strikers this season, who have a combined 8 goals. And in Europe, a combined 0 goals. So, that. And
Sorry,
don't get me
correct. We are £129 million worth of strikers, not 60 odd million.
My apologies, Matt. I didn't hear you say it there. I thought you said 65. But yeah, I mean, it's it is what it is. Neither of those strikers have really painted themselves in glory so far this season, unfortunately. Really disappointed for Woltemade, because I was super excited to see him come over, and I still hope that he comes good. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have justified playing Wissa, or I mean, I wanted Woltemade to play yesterday, but you can't say, oh well, how can you justify not playing them when Anthony Gordon's the one who's been bagging the goals in and probably been the better player of the three.
But that again isn't down to last night. That's down to the season. Those players have not been integrated into the team. And a quick question for you too as well. Then, in regards to defence, why didn't we stick with the defence we had out against Chelsea? A lot younger, a lot more agile. We all said everybody was fitting round pegs and round holes. It looked a lot better than it had been. Why then put the 2 old guys back in?
Did you see the first leg at St James's Park, Bogey? Were you watching that game?
Yeah. I'm saying why. Did you see the Chelsea game? The two of you have sat all season and said, we've missed our win backs, we've missed having our best defence. Our best defence was available and he didn't pick it. What's the justification?
Right. Are you going to let me answer the question?
Biggest game ever.
If you let me answer, I'll tell you exactly why he picked the defence that he did. So the defence that was picked yesterday is so Botman is in and out of fitness, had a good game against Chelsea. Then we brought Burn back. Why have we brought Burn back? Well, against Barcelona, Burn was very, very good in the first leg. And also, Kieran Trippier was also very good in that first leg. Now, Tino Livramento is probably a bit of a better player. I mean, he didn't show it when he came on last night. He did no better than Trippier. In fact, I would go as far as to say he was as bad, if not worse, than Trippier. So why would you not start him against Barcelona? Well, how about the fact that he's literally just came back off a long injury? He's just played a grueling game against Chelsea and maybe 2 high-octane matches in the space of 4 days was just a little bit too much for him.
But them lads, if they'd
And
started,
also, by the way,
them lads, if they'd start the game, wouldn't have had to come on chasing the game. So again, there's no justification. We're all sat here and said against Chelsea that that was our best defence. That was the best defensive performance we'd had all season. Those lads had, each one of them had done their own job. Why did we change it? Why did we change it up for that game when we'd done so well against Chelsea?
An interesting one from 2 seconds, guys. I mean, listen, I think this is something that we all need to throw in. I'd love to see our summer shopping list, says Wissa. But Gavin's put this one. Don't forget, Chow is a Muslim and doing Ramadan. Do you think that had anything to do with it? Do you think, you talk about high-octane matches, the lad has been utilised a hell of a lot over the recent weeks.
That was his 46th game.
Do you think that is an issue? I mean, like I say, if you was to, there wasn't many standout performers in the back line yesterday at all, if I'm honest with you. Hence the low markings literally across all of the platforms. And it's, like I said, you do have to start questioning where that attitude came from in that last half of a 2-game period. It's Eid tomorrow, so it's the penultimate day now.
Day tomorrow.
So celebrated Eid tomorrow.
We are the first
English club. Well, I'm not saying it is an excuse. I'm just saying it's a look. I mean, come on. I'm not saying it is. I mean, I'm just saying, has that got anything to do with technical ability? Well, you get knackered, I would imagine, with the energy. But I mean, like I said, I just think the lad needs to put studs into his boots. That's what I think he needs. We're the first English club to concede seven goals in a single match in Europe ever. That's obviously certainly not the marking that I wanted to come out with. I certainly didn't think, having watched literally us go the whole game at St James's Park toe to toe, and like I said, very unlucky not to come out with the win. And then the first half, even though you're 3-2 down at half time. But I mean, even yourself, Boki, you were saying in the chat, weren't you? We're still in this. There's still an opportunity, and that's how everybody felt. I just couldn't understand the difference between every side. I mean, this doesn't really tell a full story of the game because obviously, 7-2 winners. You look at their XG and it's 4.5 compared to our under 2. 12 shots.
Did we not play?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. And then I tell you what really is interesting is this one. I'm going to put it on the screen now because you can see from this slide, if I was to show you this one, quite comfortably here up until the halfway mark. You can see it's literally toe to toe. We are. And again, there's a part here where we're actually dominating Barcelona in the Nou Camp, and that's something that I, if I'm honest with you, would never have said. But the second half, the distance, I mean, like I say, the Lamal penalty here, you can see the increase where it literally looked like every attack that Barca was going to do was going to end up either a shot at goal or a goal. And like I say, I can't blame Ramsdale for any of them. He got beaten by 7 goals on the day. But actually, did he have a chance for any of them? Because I just think we were so poor defensively.
He nearly saved the penalty, to be fair to him.
Well, he did get his... I mean, if he went with one hand, I think he would have.
Just for that graph that Gary put up there for people on radio, basically it showed us flatlining from about the 30th minute which I think is
Yeah,
like
you're
season as
dead.
well. Yep, you know, it's like they're like the season, as you say, dead.
And again, just going through, this is your momentum map, and you can see Newcastle completely in this game in the first 45 minutes, to the point where you could actually say they were probably dominating, more of an attacking threat than Barca was in that first half. But again, the graph itself in the second half shows it was just a clear drop-off from all of it.
There's no doubt in my mind at all. Once that fifth goal went in, that was it. It was a
But
complete
Wayne,
and
just to
utter
say,
capitulation.
before that fifth goal went in, look, I can just about see the graph on the little bit of the screen at the bottom there. Before that goal went in, we'd already completely lost. We actually had more control of the ball after that than we did before. So we'd already lost the game at that point in regards to losing. Well, you can if you look at the bottom little graph there.
Well,
it shows you.
Can't see the bottom
they
little graph.
scored, within whatever a minute of kickoff, and that was the fourth, and then it was only another 10 and we never had the ball after that.
No, I was going to say.
10 minutes later, they scored again. We couldn't even keep the ball from the kickoff.
So why did that happen, Win? Whose fault is that?
Yours.
Who's that down to?
Bulky.
Well, it's not down to Eddie Howe.
Well, why not? He's the manager. He's the one.
He's not on the pitch.
If he's seen that happening, and you obviously have after the first couple of minutes of the second half, why didn't he start shuffling the pack and making changes and getting it so that he got some control back into the game?
Well,
why not bring Botman on at that point and try to show we're up at the back? You know, if we know we're on for an onslaught, why not bring another defender on and try to defend out that little period of the game? A good manager would do that. A good manager would manage the game. He didn't. He just let we go, and then it was third goal, fourth goal, fifth goal, sixth goal. It was an absolute disgrace of a game in regards to he didn't manage, and if this has been the problem all season, no in-game management.
I'm not
Go on,
even
mate.
going to disagree with you with regard
You can't.
to because I said myself at half time we were doing so well, but again, the first 10 minutes of the second half, you could see straight away J7 was frightened to put a tackle in, which was why they were
Why
just
not bring him off?
overrunning us because
Why
he
not
was
bring
on the
him off?
yellow.
Why not bring him off?
Well, I said at half time, I would have brought Botman on for J7 at half time and go 5 at the back.
So if we can look at that and see that, why can't Eddie Howe, as a Premier League proven manager, see that?
Well, I don't know, but Eddie Howe's got a bit more experience than I've got, so he had his.
To be fair, I think at this point I would trust your in-game management, and I've seen what games you watch, and they're not the Newcastle games, better than I would Eddie Howe.
I mean, listen, I don't think anybody can actually. I mean, even Eddie Howe says, he can't understand what happened with the second half, the defending for any of the goals. I mean, that came out of Eddie Howe's mouth. And again, you talk about how do you explain that second half collapse? Was it a tactical? Was it physical? Or was it mental? I mean, I think it was all three combined, if I'm honest with you. And, J7 made me laugh because I quote the Joe Linton analysis, if you like. He spoke to, I think it was Spanish or Brazilian news post the game. And he literally said they were too good. They just were too good. You press and the ball's already gone. So if that is the case, why were we really close in the first half not to win it? And why were we really good in the first half at the Nou Camp? And yet we looked like a totally different side in the second half. And that's what made me think, did Hansi Flick say, listen, we'll give them the first half, let's have a look at them. And in the second half, we're literally going to change it up. And what we're going to do, because they've gone man for man, we're going to start moving bodies around. And, you could see completely the difference in movement. Pedri seemed to have a lot more space in that second half. You know, there was all over the park. It just seemed as though they had. I mean, you know, we talk about the referee. Some of the decisions that the referee made was pretty damn awful. But I mean, it didn't look as though Newcastle had enough bodies on the field of play. So was it physical? Was it the fact that they had run literally out of steam? And there was a very interesting look, if I'm honest with you. And I think we probably best to show this now. This is Sky Sports obviously talking about the Opta Power Rankings. And I hope this comes through to you guys, because I found this was a really interesting look at where, you know, the Premier League compares to the other leagues. Let me know if you can hear this, guys.
I can hear. Oh, here. No.
You can't hear that. Right, let me.
I think he
let me
said he's a
stop.
big fan of Tina Tooney. I can read lips. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, I'll look at that, because I think there's something that's missing. But it was a really interesting look into what they're suggesting is the fact that all of the other leagues, you know, Bundesliga, Premier Liga, Ligue 1, Serie A, you know, or Super League, if you like, are all playing lesser teams. And then it showed you the amount. I'll see if I can get the sound playing in a second.
Also, and played a lesser team last night, didn't the lesser team themselves, according to Winner, playing in the Farmers League, and then they go out and
but
they're the top
team in the Farmers League. We are ninth, if you remember.
Well, I do remember that. That's part of my major problem with this season. We are ninth. Well done. You begin to get what the issues are.
So that was
I think last night's game can be a lesson to Boki. Because all this time that Boki's been saying, why are we out of this cup? Why are we out of that cup? I've tried to explain to him exactly what we saw last night. Last night, it's almost as if a team that 5 years ago were relegation fodder all of a sudden took on one of the biggest teams in European football. It's almost as if the fact that I've been telling you now for the 7 months that I've been coming on this channel of we've been overachieving, and that's what we did against Barcelona. We overachieved. They weren't ready for us. We hustled them, we got ready for them, and then by the end of the game, we were beaten by a team that's always in the Champions League, that has won La Liga more times than I've had a Sunday lunch. Like, it's, you know, this is an elite level team who beat a team that is been overachieving since Eddie Howe came and took over. Before this, we were scrapping in the bottom three of the league.
Well done, Tina. Well done. Going down that route again, you know. Poor Newcastle 5 years ago were struggling. We're not struggling. We're not struggling now. We're not that little team that we were back then.
You've just said we're ninth in the league.
We haven't got a league. We haven't got a owner in charge who doesn't care about the club. What absolute tosh going back to those days now. You know, we've as you both said, and you'll justify it the other way, saying we've qualified for the Champions League twice. We've won a cup. We're not the same team we were 5 years ago. Don't go back to those days. Look at where we are now.
Not.
We've spent the money. We've got the team in place. We should be a lot further up the Premier League than we are. Don't come on here the night and use don't come on here the night and use all the old excuses. That's all you've done all season. And the person who's got it right all season is sitting here.
They're all valid.
Just to let you guys know, because obviously Win likes these, Forest and Palace are through in the Euros. So obviously that does us a little bit of good, if I'm honest with you, for those places. So
it's almost certain now.
Yeah, right then. I've got this. I've got the sound working.
No, can I stop you there? That isn't certain. It is not certain.
Nothing
we are not in European places, no matter what. So it doesn't matter what happens with those teams, unless we improve massively in the league. We're not in a position now to get into the European places. You are trying to, do this thing where you wash everything out the way and just say everything's fine in the garden. It is not. It's a disaster of a season.
How would Arsenal have fared yesterday, do you think, against Getafe?
Why we're talking about Arsenal, Win? Why we're
Because
talking
Arsenal
about
are top of the
We're
Premier League and Getafe are ninth in La Liga.
We're Newcastle United. We're not Arsenal. We're not another team. Don't bring other teams into it. It's called NUFC Talk.
That's who we're playing
Talk
against.
about what's going wrong at Newcastle, not what would happen with other teams, because you can't answer that.
How
I
many
can't, but I
trophies
can,
has
because there's
Newcastle won in the
nothing
last
going
70
wrong at
years?
Newcastle.
There's
Let's just
nothing
listen
going
to
wrong
what,
at Newcastle.
What this is, though. Let's just listen to what he says, though, because, like I say, there is something obviously in this that supports what you guys are obviously trying to discuss. Listen to this.
Question here is how the strength of the domestic leagues impacts the
And now I can't
performances
hear
in
Yeah, we can't.
You
The
can
rest
hear.
of us
You
could.
can. Oh, that's all right,
Europe.
then I'll
The
let you
English
go.
sides are facing tougher opposition in their domestic league. Even Burnley, remember the bottom-rated team here, lowest rated, they are better than 9 teams in the Bundesliga who have a lower rating. Burnley are also better than 11 teams in Serie A, this cluster of teams that have been given a rating as well. And there is a group of teams in Portugal's top division that are essentially at a similar level to the middle of the championship. So does playing weaker opposition at home domestically allow teams to rotate more in their domestic league? It does appear so. Of the last 16 teams in the Champions League this season, Real Madrid have used 32 players in their league. In fairness, they have had quite a lot of injuries this season. Sporting have used 31 players. Remember, they're playing mid-level championship sides a lot of the time in their domestic league. Galatasaray have used 30 players. You can see the trend here. The only Premier League team in the top 8 is Spurs, and they have had a shocking injury record this season. More players being used indicates more rotation, more managing of minutes for players with big European ties to play. And if we look at the league minutes played by those involved in the last 16 of the Champions League, the top 8 players for minutes played, all based here. Premier League players have played more games than the top leagues across Europe by the time we've got to this point in the season in March. So has fatigue played a role? Has the fact that other teams across Europe been able to rest players and rotate players in their domestic leagues played a role? And is the fact that the Premier League is the strongest league according to the power rankings, does that make it more difficult for the English sides to progress in Europe? But the key question here is how...
Interesting. Look and listen to what they were saying there. And like I say, I don't know whether it creates some, justification for what happened in that second half. But again, Newcastle wasn't actually on any of those slides, if you notice. Not a single player in the second one. And social media have two sides of the coin. I mean, I don't know whether any of you guys listened to Duran yesterday, who was absolutely shouted down by a Geordie fan who found them up on TalkSport. And then obviously you had Simon Jordan literally discussing this morning on TalkSport about how, it doesn't matter who. What Simon Jordan said was, it doesn't matter who is at the helm at Newcastle. When you haven't got the tools to start banging with the big guns, every manager will fail there. And you're better off staying with Eddie Howe, because what he's achieved with the minimal amount of money that he's had to spend. Now, again, this is what I'm saying. There's going to be a question mark thrown against everybody. And Andy Durham, Simon Jordan, both different sides of the coin. One saying Eddie Howe should resign, which was Andy Durham. And then he says he should be England manager, because I respect him as a manager, but he thinks he's reached his ceiling. And he can't take the club any further, and respectfully should stand down. And then you've got Simon Jordan saying, doesn't matter whether you got Xavi in there, Alonso, doesn't matter what player or what manager comes into Newcastle post Eddie Howe, they will still be, unfortunately, handcuffed to the same issues. And the only way, and again, what he was trying to do here was literally throw a little bit of a curveball towards PIF. And he said, well, the only way that Newcastle are going to ever get closer, ambition-wise, to what the CEO was saying about this 2030 being the dominant force, is if they build a new stadium, increase the revenues, because that is the only way forward for Newcastle. What's your thoughts on what you've just listened to and what you've seen or heard from the both sides of the tale regarding, I know Balky obviously will go on the Andy Durham side. What are we? Is there anything in that slide that you've just seen there, that shot, that rings any bells for you guys? Does it make it any easier, or is it just all noise? Is it just an excuse?
No, I just want to ask
guys, because they'll use it to deflect from the fact that we lost the game. Doesn't matter what stats you put up. You can put any little, PowerPoint presentation up. You can put any little league tables or any little, points that we're building up on certain things as English teams. The top and bottom of it is, it's nothing to do with the European teams. It's nothing to do with anybody else. It's Newcastle United that are failing this season.
So I'll ask you.
Don't deflect.
You say we're failing. In your mind, where should Newcastle United be?
Right, either further in a cup competition, and if we got through last night, I would have been sitting here
semi-final.
Semi-final.
We got to the last 16 of Champions League for the first time in your entire life. What are you talking about?
Again, sitting laughing about that. It's the easiest way to get to the last 16 now since it's ever been. In the PowerPoint you've just shown proves it was where we should have got. We haven't done anything special. We've got to where we should have got. According to PowerPoints that you guys use as
I'm asking you where you think we should be.
Well, we should be 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
5th, 6th, 7th.
Yeah.
Right. So, total failure for you is not being 5th, 6th, 7th. We're actually less than 3 points off that.
Oh, don't go there. We're not there, Win.
Hang on.
You're going down the route.
The season's not finished.
If we'd scored 9 goals last night, we would have been in the last 8 of
the season's not finished.
If we'd scored more goals against Man City, we would have been through to the final of that competition. If we'd scored more goals against Man City, we would have been through to the quarterfinals of the. Don't talk about what is, could be, or talk about what's happening.
I will talk about it. Who's going to win the Carabao Cup?
But that makes no difference to Newcastle United again.
Well, you're saying we should be better than them?
No, I'm saying that we should be progressing as a club. You cannot sit there and say 9th place is good enough for Newcastle United from where we are now.
So,
I agree.
Can I just put in just for a second?
This season. So that's exactly where we are. So it is failure.
Well, I'll tell you what. Then,
we haven't finished 9th this season yet.
Yeah, I'm going to put the table on, right, because I want your guys' impression on what this table states to me. Anyway, I don't know what it does to you guys. But what are the teams then? If we're all talking about where Newcastle should finish, what teams in 8 positions above us should Newcastle be above now? Then
Everton, Brentford.
Yeah.
That takes up to
7th.
7th. Aston Villa.
We could question it, but I mean, they are on the same par. So
Chelsea,
is that a gimme?
Chelsea, based on the way they've had their season.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the money they spent, Valky.
Which one of those teams has had a great season? Which one of those teams, overachieved? Not one. But why?
Brentford and Everton.
You're putting a league up to prove. You're putting a league up. Why we're putting a league up to prove a point where Newcastle should be? It's nothing to do with those other teams. But it's not. It's to do with.
You've just mentioned 2, maybe 3 teams.
It's to do with Newcastle United's results and where we should be with our results. We have absolutely capitulated in games this season. Look at how many points we threw away. We could be further up that league. So, don't use other teams. We had to discuss Newcastle United, Chelsea, threw away 2 points straight off the top of my head.
Well, we've lost 19 points, don't we, from
19
from winning positions.
Season.
That's the criminal side of it. I agree with you. But again, I look at that table and I think there's only probably, if I'm hand on heart, there's only 2 teams that Newcastle should be ahead of at this point in our 4.5 years.
But you're basing that on those teams, Gary. What I'm saying is
I'm basing it on money, mate. I'm basing it on money spent.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm not saying it's based on money spent. What I'm saying is those teams haven't achieved this season. A lot of them, Newcastle United haven't achieved this season either. So
no, but they've had time.
If Newcastle United had achieved, we'd have been ahead of those teams. So what you're saying is
So
right.
overachieving
also
again.
achieved.
So overachieving again.
Not, not overachieving. If we'd achieved. So
I
we
think it's
hadn't lost.
overachieving, though, isn't it? Because if you think about
no,
it, every team in front of us now have had a decade to build a side. Yes
That's
or
not
no?
the point. That's not the point.
Oh, well, to me,
point-
it is. You see,
The point
because
I'm
if
making
I
is just just don't take those other teams out of it. Forget the league. Just look at Newcastle United. League football wise this season, have we done as well as we could have? So it doesn't matter where we are in the
No.
league or anything like that. Have we done as well as we could have?
No.
So we could be further on than we are. Doesn't matter where those other
Absolutely.
teams. It doesn't matter where those other teams are whatsoever. But if we had achieved what we could have done this season, we'd be a hell of a lot further up that league table.
yeah, I
If
understand
we'd
that.
won
But like I
every
said,
game this season, would be top of the league and would have won the Carabao
Again,
Cup
it's not
and
the
would
point
be in
I'm
the
making.
semi-finals
That's
of the
not-
FA Cup.
you-
It's
I know where
not
you are.
spooky.
You-
This
you
isn't
got-
what
you-
happens.
you know, it's
Sometimes
not
you
ifs
win
and
games
buts.
in football. Sometimes
It's
you
not-
lose games
it's
in
not
football.
if-
That's how
it's not
football
ifs and
works.
buts. It's about how good the team are doing. If this team
If
had
we
been
had
as-
played
if this-
better, we would be in a better position. It's not about ifs and buts. Make that make sense, Borky. Go ahead. Right in front of all
well,
these viewers.
Finally, you've got exactly what I'm saying. If we had played better, if we had played to our potential, we'd be better than what we're doing.
And
That's
if we
you
had won
converted.
every
I
game
just need to
this-
teach. I just need to teach you that by now.
If Borky, don't play games with me, okay? Listen.
I'm,
If we had won every game this season, we would be
I'm
top
not
of the
saying
league.
that. I'm not saying that.
I'm saying that. If we had won every game this season, we would be top of the league. Am I wrong?
If my nana had a wheel, she'd be a bike.
Am I wrong?
Well, no, but it's impossible.
So I'm right.
Well, go on, carry on with your argument.
My argument is, if we had won every game this season, we would be top of the league. Am I right?
Well, yes.
Thank you. That's you converted, so now all I've got to do is convert.
Convert. What's your
It's
what's your
football,
what,
man,
what,
Borky.
what,
It's
what's your
football.
actual?
Sometimes you
what-
win, sometimes
hang on,
you
hang
lose.
on. What's your actual point there? I get what you're saying.
my
If we'd
point
won
is
every league
this.
game this season, we'd be top of the league.
Right.
What
Shall I
point
tell you
does
what
that
my
make?
point is, Borky? You're saying that for you, an acceptable season for Newcastle United would be to finish 7th and do well in the cups. Right? Right now, we are 2 points
No,
short
I'm
of
not
that.
saying that. I'm not saying that.
Well, what are you saying then? What are your I'm asking you, what are your expectations? What do you
My-
absolutely
my
think is
expect-
reasonable to demand?
My expectations at this point are that as a club, we should be playing to the best of our abilities. We should be using the players that we've got to the best of our abilities. We are not doing that.
And
We
what
could
should
do a
the
lot
players
better.
we've got
we could
that we're able to attract and pay?
Well, why did we pay
What should those
229
players be able to achieve?
Why did we pay £129 million for players and have them sit on the bench? You know, come on. We haven't reached the levels that we should be at. If you guys love being at this level, if you guys think this season's been a success because we've got the level that we're at, that's up to you. You go with that. I'm saying it's not for me. I think we should be doing a lot
Who
better.
said it's been a success? Let me tell you what I'm trying to get to the point of here, okay? So there's a line in a song that we've all heard, and it's, if you never win a cup again, I'll brave the dark at St. James's Park at the Gallagher End in the rain. I'll tell you this, Borky, whether we win the league, win a cup, or finish bottom of every league, I'll sit here every night with this badge on my chest because I support Newcastle United. I don't throw me toys out the pram every time we have a bit of a bad season. It happens. Is this the worst season we've ever had? Nowhere near it. Is it the best season we've ever had? Nowhere near it. This is the world of football. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. Look at Liverpool this season compared to last season. Look at Manchester City this season compared to this season when they won all the trophies. Look at any team. This is what happens in football, and I get it. It's emotional. A lot of people get emotional about football, and it's horrible when you watch your team get beat by such a large margin. But continuously just repeating, "Oh, we failed." Oh, okay, yeah, you're not happy with where we are this season. That's okay. We get that.
I'm
You know,
the one who
the
can,
biggest
I'm the
killer
one
for
who
me-
can sit here and justify my point. I'm the one who can actually sit here and say, this is why I feel like this. You two are just happy clapping. You know,
I think
We're
you
not
know what
happy
was-
clapping.
It
We're
doesn't
accepting
matter-
reality.
No, you're on it. You're basically sitting there saying, doesn't matter what happens, as long as we keep Eddie Howe in place, as long as, we're,
I'm not saying
you
any
know,
of
we
the
can
sort.
go.
So,
Well,
Bulky,
yeah,
what would have to
as long as
happen for you
the
to
same
stop
old
supporting
happens.
Newcastle United?
Well, nothing.
Had to get there
support them.
eventually.
I support them to the bottom of my heart, so nothing.
There you go.
But
Then.
what I won't do is sit here and put up with absolute mediocrity.
I tell you what made me
Mediocrity.
laugh though
We've
yesterday.
just been beaten
Rob-
by Barcelona in the Camp Nou in the last 16 of the Champions League. If I had told you 7 years ago that was going to be reality, you would have thought I was on drugs. Like, you would have thought, honestly, if I had offered you that, if I had said, give me £1 million and I'll make it so that in 5 years' time we'll get beat off Barcelona in the Camp Nou in the last 16 of the Champions League, you'd have said, I go on, then I'll have that, because that means we must have done good for a few years. We must be in the Champions League. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be an experience. And now you're sitting here and all you're seeing is the failures. And nothing's failed. We're having a bit of a bad season. We've had a few bad games. We've had some good games. We've had some fantastic games this season. But we have also had some bad games. And the bad games have probably outweighed the good games. So there's a multitude of reasons for that. Whether that was what happened in the summer, bringing in the wrong players, injuries that have happened. There's a multitude of reasons for that. But that's football, Borky. You're going to have to get used to that.
Look at it.
couple-
The
couple of
two of you
interesting
can sit and shoot me down completely.
I'm not
Because there's
shooting you down.
There's two voices shouting over, but in regards to it,
I'm not shouting.
you look through the chat. You look.
I'm
through
the
what
only
people
one
are
here
saying.
who's showing
They're
no
the one-
emotion
they're the
whatsoever.
ones. They're the ones agreeing. They're the ones saying that it is down to you accepting mediocrity because of what's happened in the past.
Mediocrity. We're a Premier League team
This-
who's
this-
qualified for the
Eddie-
Champions League 2 years in the last 4. What's
Right,
your
we spent
vision
we
of
spent a little bit
mediocre?
too long on what
was I
it's put to
saying?
moment.
God, I
Yeah, go
love
say.
you all, Christina. Amazing,
amazing
girl.
girl.
Oh,
And then
Borky
we've
was
got,
talking about the chat. That's not worked out well, has it?
Is our reality getting beaten 7-2? Yes
Oh,
or
Chris, the
no?
American Mark.
yeah,
Is
there you
our
go.
reality getting beat 7-2? Yes, I know.
I tell you what. I tell you
Of course
what.
it's
I
our
mean,
reality because it happened.
absolutely. But I tell you what was reality to me was that we paid 98 million for 2 players, and I think it was 91 million for their whole team that beat us 7-2, 8-3 on aggregate.
Yeah,
So,
but
I
how
mean,
much would it cost
you
to
know.
buy their team, though? Like, that's the
Well, listen.
difference.
All I'm saying is, you can see that there's talent. You don't have to pay Premier League proven.
How much are they paying in wages for those?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I say, I mean, it's tongue in cheek, but
That's what
it does make
defines
you.
what a player's worth.
what
A
a
player
player's
is worth
worth,
what
yeah.
somebody's prepared to pay him to play football, not necessarily just the transfer fee.
Anti Flick turned around and said that at half time we changed things. We saw Newcastle playing man to man, so we needed to pull players out of position in forward areas to make space for others. And I think, like I said, that to me was the telling thing. Like I said, Connor's just thrown that at me, and it was, say, so obvious. You could see, Yamal playing more inside than obviously playing out on the wing. Against Louis Hall, he got more space. They overloaded in pockets of space in the half zones, and it was one ball that seemed to totally cut Newcastle in half. And like I said, the one thing that for me was Newcastle trying to overload, and I don't know whether it was a call from Eddie Howe or whether it was just a player's decision when Tino Livramento went on the diagonal on the left hand side to overload their right back. And then he seems to, I don't know, be caught in two minds where he should stay. Should somebody go back and cover the right back position while he's over there? There was Dan Burn literally moving forward when you've got Lewandowski moving out of that forward line into his own half. I think sometimes, you've got to start asking the questions about when a gaffer asks you to do a job, how much do you go word for word, verbatim? And I think that is where Newcastle shot themselves in the foot, because when Dan Burn reached the halfway line, he was pointing behind him. There was so much space, so much available for one killer ball through. And like I said, the one thing I must say about Barcelona in that second half, their movement off the ball and away from danger zones to pull players out of position was absolutely fantastic. And like I said, I hope, in all honesty, whether you praise Eddie Howe for what he's achieved, whether you define Eddie Howe as reaching his ceiling, whichever way it is, there's a lesson learned there. There's a lesson you can learn from losing a game, and you can take it into the next game.
There's one lesson I learned is that if you've got a good manager at half time, he changes things up. And as you've said, I completely agree with you. He changed his tactics at half time and absolutely obliterated Eddie Howe's tactics on the pitch. Eddie Howe, as soon as he did that, had no answers. There was no counter. There was absolutely nothing that he could do to stop what their manager did to our team. So, yes, I completely agree with that, Gary. Barcelona came out in the second half with completely different tactics and thrashed her, and our manager had no answer to them.
So, Boki, let me ask you a question. If we were to replace Eddie Howe this season, which manager would you like us to bring in?
I don't think we should replace Eddie Howe this season. It's pointless now. Absolutely.
No, I mean, sorry. At the end of this season is what I meant, though. So, if we were going to start next season with a different manager, who would you bring in?
At this point, be fair, I'm not a guy who can go out and choose a manager. That's not my job. What I'm saying is there's better managers out there. So a Fabregas, a Mourinho, if you can get him, the old Liverpool manager, Klopp.
If you're asking me if I would have Klopp instead of Eddie Howe, absolutely all day long. See if you can get him to come. Would I have Mourinho now?
Yeah, if you can convince him to come, I'll take Klopp. But
anyway, super chat from was I blame Miley's dead leg. Knees are good at water,
Oh, let's not mention knees around me. Yeah. I learned something too. By the way, can I tell you what I learned? I want Newcastle United saying Ferran Torres. That's my point. That's it. Ooh. Continue.
Yes. Quick question, used to then. Can we get a better? Could we get a better manager in the summer? Are there better managers out there than Eddie Howe? Should we aim higher?
So there's two questions there. Are there better managers out there than Eddie Howe? And could we get a better manager?
Exactly.
Than Eddie Howe? They're two very different questions. I mean,
if you're asking,
are there better strikers?
To be fair, at this point, I would take any answer off either of you because you've done none all night. You've just deflected away from everything that's bad. You've deflected away from a 7-2 result being an absolute disaster for this club. You've deflected away from we're being out of every competition. You've deflected away from we're being poor in the Premier League. If you'll answer at least one question, then could we get a manager than Eddie Howe?
Okay. You're not going to insult me like this. Tell me what I've deflected there, little boy. Go on, give me the list. Give me the list.
I just give you the list.
Tell me exactly what I've deflected. Tell me what I said. Go on.
You've deflected away from the fact it's an absolute disaster.
Tell me what words I used. Tell me what words I used.
I said that the 7-2 defeat was the worst thing that could have happened on the world stage in terms of Newcastle.
You've deflected away from it being a terrible season.
No, we've deflected away from it all being Eddie Howe's fault.
You've deflected away from the fact that it's a disaster in the Premier League.
It's not a disaster in the Premier League.
If you guys ask me questions and I sit and answer them, I'm quite honest.
By your own admission.
Again, you are deflecting away by attacking me.
By your own admission.
Believe me, if I come after you, you'll know about it.
If you don't think you've had a chance to answer those questions, answer them now. If you don't think you've had a chance to answer, well, go on then. Don't shout at me. Answer the questions.
I specifically asked you what is acceptable,
you're not answering,
and you said 7.
You don't answer a question with a question.
No. But you're saying what?
Action.
You're saying we've had a terrible season, so I ask you what a good season is, and you're saying minimum finish 7.
Deflection.
You said I asked you straight out. You said 7, 5, 6, 7.
This isn't tennis. I'm asking you a question. Answer the question. Don't.
And what I'm saying is, if we finish below 7th, I agree with you. It's been a bad Premiership season.
So we are below 7th. So it is a bad Premiership season. So you're agreeing with us now.
We're not below 7th. The season hasn't finished.
But we are below 7th.
We're not below 7th. We're not below 7th till we play the 30th game.
That's an easy one because Wynn's got no idea where we are in the league. Go on then, Tina. You answer any of those questions that I've put to you.
What's the question?
Absolute disaster last night. Whose fault is it? Disaster of a season. Justify it. ninth place isn't acceptable in the Premier League. Justify it.
No, that's your feelings. I would never invalidate your feelings.
But
If that's what you feel, go ahead and
no, I'm
feel
saying,
that
I'm
way.
saying, do you agree with that? I'm not asking a question. I'm sorry, I'm not
massively,
taking
no.
a point. I'm asking a question. So how can't you justify that? Where have we succeeded this season?
Well, we've had some good games this season. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say.
Where have
there,
we
Bobby.
succeeded? That's easy.
Exactly.
How-
We
Exactly.
got
what-
the
what do you mean,
semi-final
have
of
we
the Carabao
succeeded?
Cup in the last 16,
Gary,
the Champions
I
League, and
apo-
further than we've been for years in the FA
apologise,
Cup.
Gary. Just move on to the next point because there's no answers there from them.
I mean, like I said, it is an interesting listen to you guys, and that's why I said. I mean, I think sometimes I'm a little bit of a swine for throwing the curveball in because I know you guys will just run with it. And you know what? Listen, the result itself is never going to go away. We are always going to be until somebody else gets beaten 8 on the day. We're gonna have that, unfortunately, that stigma. We've had a lot of roasting in a lot of rags today, and obviously the lads a little bit further down the road that we
Just
faced
a
this
game of
weekend
football. Why are you taking it so
are actually
personally?
rubbing their hands together, and it was a very interesting look. Listen, we are literally 32 minutes away from the end of the show, and we haven't really got past the first question. I want to move on because, like I say, there ain't a lot. I don't think there's a lot we can talk about. And like I say, for me, the one big thing that's came out of today was the Bruno scenario. According to the Deadline Day Live. Now, again, I don't really know much about these guys. They've suggested that there's a gentleman's agreement that could allow Bruno Guimaraes to leave Newcastle. The midfielder is understood to have a verbal understanding to explore moves to Champions League clubs if Newcastle fail to qualify. Again, I've not seen or read this anywhere else. However, the agreement may not be legally enforceable, according to that report. And again, you look at it when you ask the question. Advanced talks apparently are reported that it's £69 million deal being mentioned. Now, we spoke about £80 million, and you guys were saying no. But again, and I'll say this in inverted commas, reportedly. All right, and like I said, there is lots of speculation. We know how these things go, and especially, after a hammering that we took yesterday, I'm sure there's a lot of people toying with the idea of, especially our big three, if you like, in that midfield. Because I think if Bruno does disappear, how does J7 feel? Does J7 then start saying, well, you know what, I want to go somewhere else? Tonali, it seems very much as though the interest is growing against Sandro Tonali. Manchester City, Arsenal are the latest. And it was journalist Fernando Callas who broke the Bruno news in 22. Is the one who broke today the Bruno in advanced talk with Manchester United. So again, this lad broke the news in 22 with Newcastle. And he's the one who's broke it today against Manchester United. So it is an interesting situation that Newcastle now find themselves, because if the pressure wasn't on Eddie Howe to get the results going forward, because like I say, it's a big game this weekend, whichever way you look at it. Local derby is one thing, but gaining Champions League, European football this season will be, it seems to me, as though it's the only way you're going to keep the big boys in a black and white shirt. What's your thoughts on what's broken today?
Well, the first thing is, as far as I'm concerned, with any player, Bruno included, the one thing we cannot allow to happen is what happened with Iraq. If it's apparent that players want to leave, then you've got to let them go and get the best price you can for them and start afresh. I mean, there's so much a rebuild at the best of times anyway, because of the old squad who need replacing apart from anything else. you can argue that there may be some of the summer signings who haven't hit the ground running, who'll be on their way as well, probably at a loss. But the main thing is, you cannot let it completely, don't bother looking at elsewhere until you've got that sorted. If they want to go, just let them go.
I think, Gary,
We're always until we can get through that glass ceiling, we're always going to be, whether people like it or not, a feeder club for the big clubs.
I think a lot of people don't get this is part of the reason why I'm so passionate about we're not failing as a club this season. Because if we fail, you lose your big players. There are going to be big players go, and that's absolutely devastating. As a club, we've got to a point where we have got some good players. We've got the likes of a Tonali, we've got a Hall, we've got a Bruno, we've got a Martino at the back, we've got a Chow in defence. We've got good players that we want to keep hold of. If we keep because of the manager, if we keep failing, then you lose these players and you do start to lose them. Losing Bruno would be an absolute disaster for this club. It really would. It really would. This club has been built for the last few seasons around a Bruno type of personality. He is the heartbeat of the club. We've got a manager who's got less passion than anything I've ever known. He's like a wet rag. But Bruno's the one who will go out and he's the one who will build the crowd up. He's the one who gets everybody behind the team. He'll do the press conferences that everybody wants to see because of his passion for Newcastle United. He's the guy that keeps this club, he's the heartbeat of this club. If we lose him, it is an absolute disaster. It is a massive backward step. That lad should be part of this club and for years to come because of what he represents to the club. He's the first captain to win a trophy in years, and that was down to him on the pitch. That wasn't down to him being given a load of money and told, go out and spend that and you'll get the players you want. That was down to him being, that passionate about the club. Look at him after that cup final. Look at the way he reacted. I think there would be a bet on who cried more, him or Win. So he was absolutely brilliant.
No competition.
But he's an absolute. He's such an integral part of Newcastle United now. He has to stay.
But if he wants to go, it's pointless trying to hang on to him.
Yeah, but there is some news.
Yeah. I don't think he does. I don't think he will want to go.
Even
if we don't get,
but he will if we fail. He will if we fail this season. A lot of players will not.
Disagree.
I think
with Bruno.
I think you're taking it as players' love for the club. I don't think it's a case of wanting to go. I think it's a case of you've got a very short career as a footballer, and you'll have to move on, especially somebody of his age, to play European football. If you're an elite player or you're a great player, you want to be playing at that level. I don't think.
By the way, he is the highest player on the book.
I don't think Bruno at that's not what I said. I don't think Bruno at that age can afford to have a year out of Europe, and it's not fair on him.
Right. Well, again,
was answering your question. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Was a bit earlier, yeah.
To be, who would you bring in instead of Eddie? In the answer, with what's available due to revenue, nobody.
Did you do the one before about because I did one a little bit earlier as well. I don't know whether you did that one because I was just reading up on a source. That's
We've
the one.
Succeeded like a budgie with a beak.
That's the one. Cool. Tina, what was your thoughts?
Look, I mean, I love Bruno Guimaraes. He's one of my favourite players I've ever had at the team. I love everything about his personality. I love the passion that he shows on the pitch. And I love watching these little YouTube videos that he does with the lads. I would love him to stay for,
Ever.
the rest of his career. But if he wants to leave, then let him leave. That's what it comes down to me. I mean, players come and players go. It happens. Managers come and managers go. It's part of football that we just kind of have to accept. And I would miss Bruno 100%. But we missed Shearer. We missed Ferdinand. We missed Beardsley. We missed Papa Cisse. We missed Zemmabar. We missed Hatem Ben Arfa. Players come and go. It unfortunately happens. But yeah, Bruno, if you're listening, please stay. We'll love you.
Yeah, just to clarify a little bit from before when I was saying about the deadline day live, apparently it was Ben Jacobs that was discussing the gentleman's agreement that may not be legal enforcement. So it was Ben Jacobs. So again, a decent source. It's not as if it's come from anybody.
So that's Ben Jacobs saying a gentleman's agreement is not legally enforceable. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's a lot of it's clickbait. We know that, buddy.
I've known a lot of gentlemen in my life, and nothing any of them ever say anything to go by to pay your life on. I tell you that now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if Newcastle lose two of their key midfielders, because again, a lot of pundits say Newcastle on the day have a formidable force in that three across the middle of the park. And again, it just seems, uncanny to think now that Newcastle could be without two or three. And like I say, what type of effect mentally does that have on J7? If Bruno does leave, we know how close they are. Does that also see him going? Now, the other thing from that I was going to discuss was a team talk have said that Newcastle, and again, I don't know whether this is because of all the rumours and everything else that seems to have come to light. Newcastle are set to hold talks with Bruno Guimaraes over a record-breaking long-term contract. Discussions are expected, and any proposed deal would make him the club's first player to earn more than $200,000 per week. The midfielder is believed to be open to a long-term commitment to the club, with Newcastle prepared to reward him accordingly. So there you go. Like I say, I'm hoping that
there is
over.
the utopic solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I don't know whether that's a knee-jerk reaction because of all these rumours that are starting to appear now. Because like I say, with Newcastle at this present moment in time, in a little bit of, they are treading water. They're not safe regarding, any means. It's a case of now going forward and getting results, and they must do that. And at the end of the day, it's down to Eddie Howe and the boys, and that's what makes me worry. Eddie Howe did mention in the post-match presser that he can get over situations like tonight quite quickly. He says, but it's how he now prepares the boys. And he was more or less saying, can they get their mentality right for the Mackems? Because obviously that's literally where we're going to next. It's a big game, this next one. And it's a big game because of the area, but it's more of a, for me, you talk about 6-pointers. Every game for the rest of this season, for me, is a 6-pointer for Newcastle. Because of, and again, you have to slightly agree with where Boki is. And that's why I said, for me, I think Newcastle are probably the 7th best team in the Premier League at the moment. And I'm not trying to skirt over a happy clap or anything like that. I'm just trying to be realistic. I think when you look at all the boys in front of us, apart from the Evertons, apart from the Brentfords, every other club in front of us have had time. Yes, they've had other issues and everything else. They've fallen away a little bit. But every club in front of us have had a lot of time to build a squad. And I think, a lot of Newcastle's problem over these last few seasons, and you call them problems, but the further they go in competitions, and again, we said, the amount of games they have already played in March compared to everybody else is a lot of work for a very small squad regarding numbers. When you see the amount of numbers that other teams have turned round and have still achieved the last 16 of the Champions League, it shows you the depth in squad. And I think that, to me, is the killer thing. It's not, and I'll hold my hand up and said, this is probably one of the best squads we have had. But it's a massive distance compared to, Danny Elmo coming off the bench. And you think, crikey, he would walk into our team week in, week out without a shadow of doubt.
Just a quick question on Eddie Howe last night and the Barcelona game. Do you not think he should have came out and apologised to the fans that had travelled across there for that game? So I didn't hear him in any press conference actually apologise to them.
He didn't. He was just being
Would
hammered.
a class would a class manager not go out and say the people I feel sorry for the night are those 3,000 fans, 10 to 10,000 fans outside the stadium who've travelled across here expecting us to do something and had to watch our absolute dross in the second half? Would a good manager not have done that? Again, very quiet on the other side.
I mean,
Well, you're saying what a good man. What is it? Are they going to feel any better because you said it?
But it shows that he understands the fans win.
Yeah.
If you go out and you lose the second half like that, a manager should come out and say, "I'm sorry." That's I'm sorry for the fans who travel. I'm sorry for the fans who've travelled across here. Don't give that rubbish because whenever he wins a game, he's proper media trained. He's proper media
Give
trained,
me a
so he
list of
should
managers who have
understand to
done
do
that,
that.
Bogey.
Loads of managers have done that in the past.
Give me one.
Managers are
I
managers.
he's right enough there. That has happened.
Managers
Give me some names when it's happened.
Allardyce.
Even Eddie Howe.
Sam Allardyce, a class
Howe's done
manager.
that.
You're out your mind.
I didn't say class managers.
Did you just say Sam Allardyce?
I didn't say class managers. You asked us for some managers who had done that.
Go give me a good manager who's done it.
Cherry bombing long time.
Ferguson.
Thank you for your super chat, Cherry bombing time.
When did he do that?
Thanks,
At
Jerry.
least Porky speaks sense and hasn't got his head buried so far up Eddie's backside. It's Newcastle United, not Eddie United. Wake up, teams. Move on.
Yeah, there you go.
Mate, well
like I said,
done.
Look,
it's always
Eddie Howe will leave Newcastle United eventually, and do you know what I'll do? I'll support the next manager who comes and takes over at Newcastle United. I don't care who wears the black and white stripes or who sits in the dugout at Newcastle United. I'm going to support them, except for Steve Bruce. I didn't like Steve Bruce, but except for him, anybody else who's the manager of Newcastle United, I will support.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one.
So you'll just sit and happy clap for anybody. That proves the point exactly.
What do you mean
guys
happy
will
clap?
just
What do you want us to do?
You'll just sit here and go, yeah, you're Newcastle United manager. I love you. No matter what,
Yeah.
how rubbish they're doing, you just sit there and
I
go.
support
I
Newcastle
love you.
United.
You're Newcastle United manager.
What do you want us to do?
Well, I want you to be honest. I want you to say that this isn't good enough. I want you to think
Well,
we can do better than this. I want you to think. I want you to think this is a disaster.
I want you to think.
I do
Define
think.
good enough.
I have. You haven't. I
Right?
have.
say that
You're saying seventh, and I agree with you.
So we're not
That's
in
where we
seventh.
should be.
So we're not in seventh. So this is not good
The
enough.
season's not over yet.
But there's where you.
Listen,
go
we've
off
come
the
back
point
over
with.
this one. Yeah,
No,
let's
no,
move
what
to-
I'm
so
saying is,
emotional.
at the end of the season, if we are still 12th at the end of the season, for example, I'll be saying time for Eddie to go.
Go off where we are now. You can only live in the time that you're in. Go off where we are now. It's not acceptable.
Where we
It's
are
not
now
good
is
enough.
within shouting
Just to
distance
Anna
of the Champions
Tag's
League.
cast
Come on, man.
in the chat. I'm
Go
not
off where
praising.
we are now.
Go
Where
on,
we
go
are
on,
now is
Tina.
totally irrelevant.
There's somebody in the chat tags cast who says Christina was clueless, man. We could be in 18th in relegation and still praise Eddie Howe. The only times I praise Eddie Howe is for things he's done in the past. I've got no allegiance to anybody. I support Newcastle United. Unlike, I suspect, a lot of people who come at me, if Newcastle United do somehow get relegated this season, do you know what I'll be doing? I'll be cheering us on next season and get promoted again. My support of Newcastle United is not hinged on whether we finish in a Champions League position, whether we win a trophy for the second time in everybody's lifetime, or whether we're mid-table. You know, if you're going to support a football club and you're going to get this passionate and this emotional about it, at least wear it in your heart.
You come on a channel to discuss football, but see, you don't care where we finish. You don't care who the manager is. You don't care who the players are. What's the point in doing that then?
Well, I'll not come on then. It's fine.
Well, no, I'm saying, the reason for the channel is to discuss these things, and sometimes we all talk rubbish, let's be honest, But you know,
Me most of the time.
The point is that you come on to have an opinion, so you've got to have an opinion. So what's your opinion, Eddie?
So
How
why
is
is my
he succeeding?
opinion wrong?
So, but I'm not saying that. So what is your opinion on Eddie Howe this season? Is he succeeding?
I mean, I don't have that metric. You're asking us a question I don't have an answer to. I don't have that metric.
So are Newcastle United succeeding this season and just use the club rather than the
I
manager?
mean,
Well, wait till the season's finished.
the Newcastle United, I'm going to support them.
It's a tough one to. I mean, listen, it's an open-edged sword, that one, Bokey, if I'm honest with you.
Hang on,
'Cause what
let's
do you
switch
class
this
as
around.
But it's
success?
not. It's not
if
because I've
Newcastle-
answered the question.
Hang on, Bobby.
I have
let's-
answered the question. I
let's-
have
well,
answered
no,
the question.
answer this question.
You guys haven't.
Answer this
I'll,
question.
I'll sit and answer any question you put to us because that's the
Right.
that's why I come on here.
Let's assume we'll finish 5th this season and qualify for the Champions League because of the European coefficient that gets us there. Are you back to Eddie in then?
No.
So,
It's failed.
so
It may have
let's
been-
get this right then. Champions League,
Win.
final of the Carabao Cup, furthest we've been in the FA Cup for donkeys, and last 16 of the Champions League is not good enough for you.
We're not in the final of the Carabao Cup for first thing. Fair enough. We got to a point in the two other cup competitions, mainly down to the fact that with the Champions League, it's been so downplayed this season. It would have been a disgrace if I hadn't got to the last 16. And I think we all agree with that.
Who agrees with that?
In
I don't agree with that.
In regards to this season, you look at don't just look at the league position. Look at how we've played and how Eddie's developed the team. He's got
That's
his
exactly
new
what I'm looking
signings in. He's got his new signings in the field. Majority of them are field. He's not developed as a manager. He's not got any better. So we can sit and argue around the point all year. There's no argument. It's a failure of a season. And you two are sitting there, and I've answered your question. Answer mine now.
So I'm saying, you're saying that
answer my
if we
question.
make Champions League this year, it's a failure of a season.
Yes, because of how this
Right,
season's gone so far.
We've got a couple of super chats in. So Ian Fleming, leave Bokey alone, Christina. I should say, Bokey, leave Christina alone. And I think there's another one just come in from Phil. Bokey, jail, leave Christina and win alone. There you go. And I'm sure the gaffer with the bars is doing his duties, as we say. I mean, like I said, oh crikey, I think I'm in jail as well in a minute. I've just read, thanks Connor, there's a report coming from ESPN Brazil saying that Manchester United will offer Bruno $325,000 a week if he joins them. I mean, like I said, it is.
I don't blame them.
I mean, we're totally away from where Newcastle can be. It's ridiculous. Listen, there's a massive game, and we seem to be scuppering around it, if I'm honest with you. Just when things couldn't get more emotional, then it's derby time. It's Sunderland. It's the first SJP derby since 2016, and like I say, we haven't had a great history against our neighbours in the past. Sunderland unbeaten in the last 10 league meetings at St James's Park. Newcastle struggling historically, but like I say, is it a different team now? I mean, obviously we saw the 3-0 in the Cup, but obviously we saw the 1-0 in the Premier League with Woltemade's own goal. So it's a hard one for this one. I mean, they don't look a great side at the minute. They look void of confidence, void of ideas, and a team that just literally trying to scrap and create chaos. How do you see this game this
You're
weekend?
about Sunderland or Newcastle there, Gary.
Well, like I say, it's chaos all the time at St James's Park. How do you guys see this game then? Because, like I say, for me, it's a massive 6-pointer for the area, for the positioning in the league, for the rights. Whatever you look at it, it's a massive Eddie Howe's tenure, if you like. Because I think those that sit on the fence at this present moment in time, there's still a lot of people that support Eddie Howe at Newcastle United. there's still a lot of people on the fence, and there's a lot of people, as we've seen in the chat already, that want him gone. Where are you now looking at this game? Is this the game that would swing you one way or t'other if you are an Eddie fan or not an Eddie fan, if you like? If Eddie loses this game at home against Sunderland, is that it? Time to go?
Well, we can bypass Win because he doesn't give two hoots about the derby. He doesn't care. He's made that clear earlier in earlier shows. For me, the derby is the biggest game of the season. You know, we lost the last one. We have to win this game. If you think I've been bad the night, and if you think the night's bad, unfortunately I can't do Monday or Tuesday of next week. But when I come on later on next week,
Coward.
that will be, you know, that will be Armageddon on this show, because
Armageddon!
These two will come in Monday, Tuesday, you know, happy clap. There's nobody to go against them. They'll absolutely love it. You know, they'll, you know, go for it. If we lose, they'll do the same. So, you know, we've got to win the derby. We have to win the derby. There's no excuses. There's no if, buts or maybes. This is a must-win game.
Well, we certainly didn't turn up for the first game
Hang on to
at the stadium.
Phil with a super chat there.
Go on, Phil.
Must be from Ireland, I assume, with the Euros. Saying, Porky jail, sadly I've got no keys. And was I saying, Porky, I'll chin your mind, watch it. Kissing me.
Ooh.
Porky couldn't afford me, to be fair.
Oh, you two. It's
I
like a
wouldn't
married
want to
couple.
buy you, mate.
You're just like a married couple, you two. I mean, where do you stand on this one then, Wing? Because I know you said, you know, Champions League.
Well, of course, everybody taking my words in vain. I never said the Sunderland game doesn't matter. What I said was, if you give me the choice,
I can clip it. I can do clips.
I said, give me the choice between beating Barcelona and getting beat off Sunderland. I would take beating Barcelona every day of the week.
You said Sunderland's just another game. It's not
in the great scheme of things. It is just another game.
It is not, Win.
It's
If
3
you're a
points.
proper
It's a
Geordie,
massive 3 points.
nobody goes into a derby saying Sunderland's just another game. Come
Are
on.
you from Blythe? What are you talking about, proper Geordies? What are you talking about?
I'm not from Blythe. I live in
Where are you
Blythe. But I'm
from?
not from
From
Wall's
Wall's
End.
Wall's End.
Wall's
Plastic
End.
Geordie.
Oh, fighting talk.
So, yeah, but will that define whether I want Eddie in or out? It depends where we finish at the end of the season.
Well,
One game's
if
not
flop
going
any-
to.
if-
One
if
game's
flop
not going
anyway,
to
so it makes any
anything.
difference. I'm Eddie out now.
I'm Eddie out. No. What's your thoughts then, Mighty? Do you think this is a 6-pointer, or do you think it's something that just Newcastle just get on with it?
It's a 3-pointer, the same as every other Premiership game.
So there's no more importance on this game.
There's a whole load more importance on this game because it's the Mackhams, and obviously we want to beat the Mackhams and have the bragging rights. Give them one back for what they did to us. At the end of the day, that's down to the players. They've got to turn up, because they certainly didn't turn up.
I'm going
at
to
the
say that's
stadium
the
at
thing, isn't it?
No, that's down to Eddie Howe. Let's
Oh,
not
shut
put it
up,
on the
man.
players. It's down to, well, you're saying the players. It's down to Eddie Howe picking the right team and getting the boys up for not just
So
for
what
a
would your team
45
be
minute,
tomorrow? Because I tell you
not a
what, my
four-
team would be exactly the team we picked last night.
100% not. But
I wouldn't send them out tomorrow. The game doesn't start until Sunday.
Hotman has to be back in that team, and
Disagree.
Tino has to be back in that team. Baltimore's got to be back in that team. Murphy
No
probably has
chance.
to be in that team as a Geordie. You know that
I'd
we
put
sat
Burn-
here. We
Burn
sat
definitely.
here against Chelsea and said that was the best performance we'd seen from a back four. That back four has to play against the Mackhams. It has to be the back four we put out. We can't keep relying when your mind is so far in the past. It's unreal. You're relying on
What are you talking about in
33.
the past? My mind's in the future.
Burn and Trips. They're too old. They're too old to play these games. But our best team now, with the best back four, is Tino at right back, Chow, Botman, and Hall.
Well,
And that's what we have to play against the Mackhams.
Tino, Joe and Hall. I just happen to think, I believe that Dan Burn is a better centre-half than Botman. You don't, that's fine.
But Dan Burn had an absolute shocker the other night.
Apart from that, he's a Geordie. And
shocker. He had an absolute shocker.
Last night?
Yeah.
Aye. Along with the whole defence. By the way, his absolute shocker included a magnificent block.
Win 1 point in the game, 1 point. The rest of the game was shocking by him. And he only
the
did
rest
that.
Of the game was shocking by the whole defence.
Because that we're playing two overage defenders in defence.
Hang on. We were only getting beat 3-2, unluckily, in the first half. And when Tino replaced Trippier,
we've done this. We're talking about the Sunderland game. We've done this. If you just want to sit and justify last night, all night, all I'll say to you every time you speak now is 7-2. Justify that. 7-2, mate. Against a team in the Farmers League.
It was a combined 11 individual errors.
7-2 against a team in the Farmers League. Shall we carry on with Sunderland?
Top of the Farmers League.
7-2.
Yeah, I mean, take top of the Farmers League against Real Madrid as well. I mean, you know, it's a hard one to face. So again, tactical derby debate that I suppose is it Newcastle pressing versus Sunderland's resilience. Newcastle dropping points from winning positions. Is it going to tell again? And Sunderland strong comebacks. They are missing or potentially missing a few. But again, rumours are, obviously there's potentially going to be 3 injury angles, if you like. Bruno, obviously, we know is out. Tonali's a doubt, even though they said it was just an edema against I don't know his hip or whether it was groin.
They're one of my favourite animals.
Tonali's is apparently a fascia lata.
A fascia lata, indeed.
Which I had one of them with caramel. The day it was a lovely sleeve.
Was it nice? And obviously Miley's still out. It doesn't look like he's going to be back for this game either.
He's
again,
after the break now.
Yeah, they reckon he's after the international break before anything happens there. But again, for me, you know, if you look at the absences in that midfield, for me, it's a massive area of concern. You saw that against Barca when we made some changes. We lost a little bit of momentum. We lost a little bit of shape. We looked as though we were literally chasing shadows a lot of the time yesterday. We can't afford to be that way and that vulnerable against the Mackhams, surely, no?
As I say, everybody's got to step up.
I mean, like I say, I think you can hear by
I think that's one reason why we absolutely need Dan Burn on the pitch tomorrow, because he will make sure that that nobody gives up the goal.
So why, right, when you saying that, why didn't he do that against Barcelona? In which case,
Barcelona's not Sunderland.
Well, at least you know that. I suppose that's a good thing that we've learned tonight. But why didn't he do? If you're saying Dan Burn will step up against Sunderland, why didn't he step up against Barcelona? He's still a local lad against them.
He's not a local lad against Barcelona. What are you talking about?
So he's not a local lad in Newcastle when we play Barcelona. I think he's
Thanks,
still from
Becca.
the area.
Oh,
Becca's saying, I'm not having Boki sitting in jail for spitting facts. Let him loose. There you go. He's loose. He's out of jail. We've got the keys to the city of Newcastle. Well, at least gated. Anyway, let's. We are literally over time. We're just waiting for the lads to appear for the late part of the show. And I say Sean is in the background. I can see our Sean. I'm just waiting for. I think it's Pete who's coming on board tonight to do the thing. And like I say, I'm sure there's a lot of questions that we've got to. And again, apologies if you can hear my little one's having a bit of a meltdown in the background, so apologies for that. Is Gordon the man for this big moment now? Because I mean, as I say, there's a lot of people questioning. I was really disappointed with Anthony Gordon's attitude. Just waiting for the lads to turn up.
Kill him again.
And then he thrives on chaos like this. I mean, you've got to question, his momentum. I mean, Nagelsmann has come out and made, I'm going to say, shots across the bow, if you like, tonight, which has been an interesting one. Because he said, he'd want to play him a little bit higher up the pitch rather than 80 yards further towards the middle of the park. So, like I say, there's a lot still to work on going forward. Anyway, I think the lads are just about ready to take it on board. And I'm just going to literally do my closing monologue. Football moves fast. 1 week you're standing toe-to-toe with Barcelona, dreaming of Europe's elite. The next you're picking apart a 7-goal collapse and trying to reset before the biggest derby in years. That's where Newcastle United are right now. Tested, exposed and questioned. But also still growing. Because this season isn't just about results, it's about learning what it takes to compete at the very top. Now comes the response. Not in Spain, but at home, in front of your own fans, against the biggest rivals. And that's where we find out what this team is really made of. Thank you so much to the panel for literally discussing everything tonight. More about Eddie Howe in and Eddie Howe out. But listen, everyone is listening out there. Some support you, some don't. All I'm saying to you is, we're all black and white when it comes to support. So whatever happens on Sunday, don't expect it to be calm. Thank you tonight. And thank you to everybody that has thrown in the super chat. Boys, it's over to you. Have a good one. Oh, Peter's just gone offline. I don't know what's happened to Pete. I'll stay with you until Peter's gone on there. But again, listen, like I said, we are all black and white. We all bleed black and white at times. Sometimes we look through glasses that are tinted black and white, and we don't always see what's directly in front of us. Now, I just want to, while we're waiting for Pete to come back on, if you look at our squad, if we lose the rumoured players leaving and contracts up, we'll end up with Pope, Hall, Chow, Byrne, Botman, Willock, Ramsey, J7, Miley, Barnes, Murphy, Alanga, Asula and Wissa. Is that good enough to take us to the helm in 2030? I don't think it is. Nowhere near good enough. Peter, over to you, sir. Have a good evening.
Cheers, pal.
Have a lovely rest of the show, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, all.
See ya.
See ya.
Ciao for now.
All right, people. All right. Welcome to the late night show. Let's get the show on the road. So we've got Win tonight. We've got Sean. Borky, are you sticking around for the late night show?
You just want us to, or I can drop off.
Way ya.
You can stick around if you like, yeah?
Way out.
Nice one. Just again, reminder to everyone, if you're not subscribed, get yourself subscribed. Click that like button as well. Just helps to support the stream. And yeah, obviously we're live on YouTube, but also live on DAB these days. So if you're listening and you're tuning in tonight, then yeah, enjoy the show.
Welcome.
Exactly. So yeah, we've got a few things to talk about. Obviously, we've already went over a couple of things earlier in the show with yourself, Win, and Gary and Borgie. I want to, first of all, I'll give my kind of 2 cents on Barca on last night. I'll say straight off the bat, I think the first half, I thought we were brilliant. And it was really good to see how I don't think Barca basically could cope with our physicality. And it was good to see how we imposed that onto them in that first half. But yeah, I want to kind of mention the second half as well, because it does seem like we were a bit naive in the way that unfolded. Going man for man, I don't know if you've seen, some of the pundits have kind of picked apart the setup in that second half. And yeah, I think it was a case of just the players running out of steam and not being able to cope with that man-to-man tactic against Barcelona, who ended up obviously just running riot. And, for me, I think it ties into a kind of a wider point with football, where I think football's in a bit of a strange place these days, where I don't think teams very often, they don't very often kind of just, they're not compact. And before I elaborate on that, we've got a super chat from good old Wissa. Oh no, it's Peter in charge. Mayhem prevails. Well, watch this space. Chris entrusts me implicitly to steer this ship.
He's got the keys to the car.
We'll see if that trust pays off. But yeah, I want to say about that second half is that for me, and you know what, you saw this with Galatasaray as well in their match against Liverpool second half. Like, it's very rare now teams have spells in games where game management kicks in and they say, "Do you know what, we're just going to kind of soak up a bit of pressure now for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We're going to be compact, hit them on the break, see how it pans out, and then when it's right, we'll then push up maybe." You know, game management. It just seems like now, and again, I don't think Newcastle are unique in this. I think a lot of teams now, it's just kamikaze in terms of like, it's all or nothing. And I do kind of miss the days where you would have a bit more variation and a bit more nous from teams. It would just be interesting sometimes when you would kind of question, can a team break another team down, you know? And I think that's where the Mavericks came into play. Back in the day, there was a few more Mavericks in the game to unlock doors. It wasn't just about pace and power, whereas now it kind of is. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll fire some questions at you. So
just out of interest, would you consider Morgan Rogers to be a kind of Maverick player?
Kind of, yeah, because he's not just about pace, so he can unlock doors for me. You know?
Well, the reason I ask is because there's been a rumour that because of PSR, Aston Villa are going to need to sell him.
Mm. Okay.
Which Emery is not too happy about, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the one major asset that they have now.
Yeah.
And would you take Morgan Rogers?
I would, but it's a question of where would he play, and I think there's going to be quite a big revamp this summer, to be honest, with Newcastle. We've already got a lot of centre midfield players, and I think the whole, the formation setup is maybe in question now, for me anyway. It's a case of, does Eddie Howe want to change that? Is Eddie Howe going to be there? I would love Morgan Rogers, but yeah, it's just, how do you fit him in, I guess? Well, where do you play him? Where's his best position? But he's really talented, so I don't think you could turn that down if he became available. Like, what about you three? I'll start with Sean. I'll go to you. What do you reckon, Sean? Would you take Morgan Rogers?
I would take him, yes, to add in more depth into the team. But it's trying to find out where you would play him. Like, that's the question. But you see, how much is it going to cost us as well? Overpriced Premier League player, or do we go abroad? That's the question we're going to look at as well. But yeah, I would have him.
Yeah. And just quickly there, Wissa, cheers, pal. Another super chat there. What is that week?
Hand the keys back.
I've got them now, mate. It's I'm keeping them. Sorry, mate.
No, we're out for the raid.
Yeah. And how long I'll keep them for is unknown. So yeah, we'll see about that.
Cups.
So Borky, Morgan Rogers, are you impressed with him? Would you take him for Newcastle?
I'd love to see him at Newcastle, but we've got to be careful that we're buying players now that do fit into a system, a player that our manager wants to play. I think we've seen the dangers this season of signing players that are square pegs going into round holes, and I think that will be the problem with him. Under Eddie Howe, I don't think he's an Eddie Howe type of player. I don't think he would fit into an Eddie Howe type of team. I think potentially under a more progressive manager who wants to not attack a little bit more, but have different styles of play, I think it would be a great signing. But I think we'll have to consider, God forbid, but Eddie Howe might be in charge next season as well. And if he is, we've got to consider if saying a player like that would progress as a club with him as a manager. I think the answer is no. I don't think he knows how to develop players that don't fit his style of play into a system. As I say, the big point on that one's the likes of a Woltemade. Maybe he's a bit before Woltemade, it was probably a St. Maximin. He just couldn't fit that different type of player into the way he wants the team to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fair point. And just with Rogers as well, someone's in the chat there has made a good point saying about, they're saying that it's fantasy land because obviously, Villa being where they are. Yeah, I'm surprised that those links win because, like you've said earlier, the season isn't finished. So, who knows exactly where we will finish up and where Villa will finish. But it's looking likely they're going to get ahead of us and they may well hold on for Champions League. So if they do, then, yeah, why would he go? Why would they sell him?
Well, that's because they're saying for PSR reasons they're going to have to.
You would think, though, with Champions League revenue, if they did finish, top four, that would be a strange one. Why would they be so desperate to kind of why would they have that trouble with PSR, with the income that you get?
I've no idea. It's the Villa podcasts that are reporting it.
Is it? Yeah.
It feels more like a win desperate to sign him rather than them desperate to sell him, to be honest.
No, I don't know. I don't know necessarily that I would sign him. It's
what about you? Tell us about that win. Would you take him?
I think it's a great player, but for the very good reasons that you've said, do I want to go down that Premiership proven route again? When last season it would appear it hasn't worked. There's still time for to prove that it did work. Not just what's left of this season, but next season, they can come on again. Lots of players falter in their first season at a new club and then recapture the form sort of thing. So that wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that pans out. If there's rumours about him potentially leaving, then yeah, I think let's see where they finish, Villa, because they are on the slide at the moment, and I think the pressure, they're going to feel the pressure coming at the end of the season, crunch time. They've been up there for so long, and I think it might weigh heavy on them, the expectation to actually stay in that top four, top five. But we'll see. Yeah,
as we found.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Clinging on by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, like I say, like playing with lead in the boots, that's how it was by the end. Yeah. But yeah, so just moving on from that, like I say, we played Barca last night. Tonali got injured. Now he's had a scan, and they've said that they'll know by Friday. They'll know sometime tomorrow, apparently, whether he'll have a chance for the derby match against Sunderland. So I'm gonna come on to and kind of fast forwarding a little bit here into the summer business. And I know it's kind of dependent on, what'll happen between now and then, where we finish. But with Tonali, there's been links with Bruno going away to Man United today. There's been links with, Tonali's been linked with a move away for a few weeks with his agent, kind of gobbing off really. But it does seem like this summer could be, like I say, a bit of a revamp. And I'm just thinking, with that in mind, I mean, we'll come to Bruno because those links are so fresh today with Man United. If Man United came in with, let's say, 70 million bid, Sean, I'll come to you first. What would your answer be to that?
I wouldn't get rid of him for 70 million. But it comes down to the likes of Bruno. He is going to want Champions League football. But I know his heart is at Newcastle, so that could keep him at us. But I have heard that there's no room, like Man United are interested, but nothing's come out of the club yet. So that's the kind of thing. But if he goes, I'm looking at about 100 to 110 million for him. It's got to be, to get a replacement in. Mm-hmm. But obviously, like I say, it's these kind of players want Champions League football, and if you do sell him, who are you going to get in to replace him? Because you're not going to get a big superstar like him again coming in to replace, because everybody wants that
unique,
Champions
isn't he?
League football. Yeah.
Aye. I'm just thinking with his age, I think if Man United do want him, and I'm sure they would love him, I'm sure most clubs would want Bruno. So if Man United or anyone else came in, they might look at his age and think he's 29. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
29, yeah.
So with that in mind, 70 odd million, 80 odd million. I mean, don't get me wrong, 29 is not old at all, even in football terms, really. But
In his prime.
yeah, I mean, it's just they might think, well, do you know what? They might try and tempt Newcastle, because most players who are, getting close to 30, it's just the market, isn't it? The older you get, the more value, the less value that you get for as a sell-on investment. So yeah, I wonder if they'll try and tempt Newcastle with that. I mean, me personally, my opinion on that, my 2 cents is that there's no way, no way, shape or form should we entertain the idea of arming Man United with Bruno or Tonali for that matter. So that's my stance. Is like if Bruno wants to go, let's say if Bruno knocks on the door and says, "Look, I want Champions League football. I need a new challenge. I've loved it at Newcastle, but yeah, I'm interested to go to this club here or this club there." I mean, me personally, I would say, okay, the player wants to go, but I'm sorry, we can't let you go to X, Y, and Z. We'll help you if you want to go to Barcelona, or if you want to go to a club in Italy, or in Spain. But I would kind of draw the line at sending him to Man United or Arsenal.
That's all very good in theory, but if there isn't a bid in from Barcelona or Madrid, and there is a bid in from Man United in the Champions League, it doesn't enter the equation. What, just to spin it on its head slightly, does anyone think that what's happened to Isaac could at all play on the minds of the other stars here? Saying, hell, look what happened to Isaac when he left.
We're not when they're going to other clubs and getting massive, double than the wage. That. I know it's a hard one to understand, because we sit here as football fans, and you look at it from your heart. A lot of these guys look at it from the pocket, and if you can go somewhere and double your wage, it's your job. End of the day, you've got a short career, and you've got to make what you can. And I completely agree with Peter. If he's going to go, he has to go to a European team. He has to go to somewhere that's not in this country. Same with Tonali. Yes, we'll turn around and say, yes, we'll sell you, but we're not selling you to a Premier League team.
I don't think Tonali will go to another Premier League club. I think he'll go back to Italy.
Yeah.
That's where I think Tonali will go.
Well, I don't think an Italian team can afford him.
Well, AC Milan won them back, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
I don't think the finances in Serie A now, the money's not there. Even to pay him the wages we are paying him.
But this is why we should have
proper
aim.
The point I'm making is
this is why we should have proper aim, get out clauses in players' contracts. So you have, if you want to leave, you can go to a European league and you pay. This is like the 100% of what we think you're worth. If you want to go to a team in the Premier League, however, it's 125% of what we think you're worth.
So
for example, if it's £100 million you want to sell Tonali for to abroad, if he ends up wanting to go to a Premier League team, it's 125 million that they have to play. So there's that incentive for a broad club to offer the money, and it's not a Premier League club that do.
But the question is, who would you rather get rid of, Tonali or Bruno?
I think there's a big chance if we don't get Champions League, if we don't get Europe, they both go.
I think ultimately we've got to keep one of them. I
still think you're living in cloud cuckoo land if you think that we could, unless you're talking about doing an Isaac and trying to retain a player who doesn't want to be here regardless of where he wants to go, I think he'll live in Cloud Cuckoo land.
But no, Win.
Man United
I
coming for
don't think you
Bruno.
got the point. I don't think you got the point I was making. I wasn't saying that we should be saying to him now that he should be doing that. I think when we get players in from now on, you have to put in the contract that if they want to leave for a Premier League club, for a European club, this is what we think you're worth. If you want to leave for a Premier League club, we'll add a 25% value onto that because we're selling you to one of our rivals.
Yeah, but as well though with Isaac, when it happened with Isaac, the clubs were coming in like Liverpool. What Liverpool done to Isaac didn't help the camp, and it upset him. And I think that can play a big part on a player. Like if they do that with Bruno, like Man United, like with Goldbergs and all them, do the influence, can that upset Bruno like it did with Isaac? That's what.
Well, that's the thing. What I'm thinking, and again, it might be Cloud Cuckoo land, maybe it is, but do you not think, let's say with Bruno Win, if you said to him, if you sat him down and said, look, you must understand that we can't let you go to Man United. You know, Bruno, you've said yourself, Win, he gets the club. It's the passion that plays a big part in his you know, the character that he is. He's got that drive and he's got that passion for Newcastle. Now, I know that is sentimental, and I know, you know, in reality, money is a massive part of the game. Why players move to clubs, that's what motivates players in part. But yeah, I'm just thinking, would Bruno not understand if you kind of sat him down, and is he not different in that way where you kind of say, look, yeah, we can negotiate with clubs, we can work with you if you want to go, we'll talk to agents, we'll put the feelers out there, but as far as Man United is concerned, you have to understand from our point of view that ain't happening. Would he not then go, do you know what? I get it.
I would love to think that that's the case. But
Is that Cloud Cuckoo land or?
Because by then he's already decided that his love affair with the Toon's over and he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
yeah, I think ultimately,
and as for persuading an agent, unless it's reflected in a bigger salary, persuading an agent to get a player to sign a contract which has got two different release fees, one for the Premier League, one for you. I'm not saying you couldn't do that. I'm sure you could, but it would have to be reflected in what you were paying him. You would have to pay him more if you wanted that clause in than you would have to pay him if that clause wasn't in.
That's understandable, but you do that. That's part of that's
Right,
that's
that's
part
fair
of
enough.
the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, if you accept that's part of the bargain, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Well, I think we do have to keep one of those. You know, out of the two, you know, you've got Bruno and Tonali there, and you've got these rumours about them leaving, and it is understandable because we're in a precarious position now, and I think Champions League is gone. I think Europa League is still. I'm not sure if we'll get it personally, but you know, we're in the hunt still. They've got to believe that they can, and they've got to go for it and go on an unbeaten run to try and catch that top 6, top 7. But even if you get Europa League, you know, I can see there being a bit of a revamp this summer, and I just feel it's important. Probably goes without saying, but I think they've got to they can't lose both. If they lose both, that would be a massive blow. And I guess the flip side is you'd have a hell of a war chest then to replace them with. I guess that is the flip side, and you have to back yourself then to bring in quality replacements. But yeah, it would just be a bit of a blow. I think it wouldn't look good if they both left in the same summer. Yeah.
So, come on, which one of them would we lose if we had to? Which one of them would we get rid of?
It would be a domino effect as well, because if we lost them two, you know, Livermento is going to say, "What's the point?" And Paul's going to say, "What's the point?"
So I'm saying if we keep one, which one would it be?
I'll keep
Bruno for me every day of the week.
Bruno.
Yeah, I think I love Tonali. I love him, but
so do I.
I just feel like, yeah, if you ask me if I'm going to lose one of them, I would have to sacrifice Tonali, unfortunately.
So just to throw the grenade in the in the room, is Tonali not the best option to keep because of his age, his profile, where he can go? Bruno's getting a bit older. Tino's about 6-7 years younger than Bruno. Tino's 6-7 years younger than Bruno. Is Tonali not the best one to keep?
I get that. I get that perspective because you make sense, Bucky, and yeah, I just
How
you know
weird,
what?
man. Let's not be stupid here.
No, but like I think with Bruno, I only say Bruno because I just think he's a one-off. I don't think players like him come around often, and then like Tonali is a brilliant player, but Bruno, I think, drags Newcastle through games at times, and he's got his qualities. I think sometimes you put prices on players in terms of like skill sets and stats and all this, and what Bruno can do sometimes is just priceless in terms of that drive. And I'm not just talking about like waving at the fans and all that. Yes, that's all well and good, but I'm talking about the way he demands the ball sometimes when the pressure is on.
Puts his magic cape on, doesn't he?
Yeah, like when it comes to the crunch, if the crowd are kicking off, if Newcastle, they're in a match where they can't lose, it's getting desperate. He's the one who will say, "Give me that ball. I'm going to put that ball in the box. I'm going to put a quality ball in, and I'm going to just force this home." And I just think he's got that drive that is totally unique.
Yeah, I agree. Brian Quinn, thank you for your super chat, buddy. This is a huge summer for the club on so many fronts, especially with the self-imposed deadline of 2030 looming. And how sensible was that deadline?
Do you know what? That interview made no sense whatsoever because he did it before the Man City game, which were lost. So, he did it before a game where he went out and says, "We're going to win this game on kicks," which was absolutely stupid. And then putting in a unrealistic target of 2030. I completely agree with that super chat. That interview made absolutely no sense now, looking back on it whatsoever.
It was definitely, it's a strange one, and I think to come out and publicly say we want to be the best in the world by 2030 when you're already in 2026, like to me it's like it's okay to have those ambitions. I think behind the scenes, if you've got that target, and I kind of see where he was coming from, because when you've got a target, it means people move, and you don't get lazy. It's a constant kind of battle to reach that target. But to publicly say that, I think, put pressure on Eddie Howe or whoever the manager is. Do you know what I mean? Is going to then look at that target and think, bloody hell, like you're not asking for much, So, yeah.
All he had to say, Peter, was by 2030 we want to be competing on every level and winning cup competitions, beginning to winning leagues and things like that. Instead, he come out with we want to be the biggest and the best, which, as you say, just puts pressure on everybody in the club, and too much pressure. We know we're not going to be there, so why say it?
And I think at the time we were kind of struggling as well. It's not been a great season, and we're sitting mid-table. Is that the right time to say that in public when you're kind of mid-table? If you could kind of forgive that, if it was top three, if we're sitting in the Champions League spots, but I mean,
who was he saying it to exactly?
I think it was TalkSport, wasn't it?
But who was he addressing his comments to, do you think? The
fans?
The commercial world or the fans?
The fans.
I think the fans, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I hesitate to kind of be too critical of it, because we've had the Ashley years where it was the complete opposite, and it was devoid of any ambition, and that was the major gripe under Ashley. It was just zero ambition, like purposely no ambition, because it didn't.
To be fair, we all loved it when Amanda said it, and she was ridiculed for saying it.
But she said it when she first came in, and it was it was all buoyant, and she wanted just to build the club up and have everybody, he did it, as I say, on the eve of a cup game that were lost, and on the eve of a season where we're not doing that great.
Yeah, exactly. The timing wasn't. The timing was strange. I'll say that.
Was I saying we need a new Spain? We are Spainless at the moment. I don't know whether that means a new goalie, centre half, and centre forward. Could well do.
Well, just on that, right? I think. Well, I'm going to go back to the defence, because Barcelona last night, I know a lot of people might be saying Tino should have started because Trips was caught out and gave away the penalty. My thinking on that, right, is I still sit here and say, do you know what? I'm not going to kind of look back in hindsight and say, actually, Tino would have been the better bet, because do you know what? I feel like Tino at times can be very like lackadaisical. I'm going to put that out there. I think he's a quality player, but he's sometimes, for me, too casual. And it's very easy to kind of say, oh, Tino would have done better there. But actually, well, would he have? You know what I mean? It's like, it's easy to think he would have, but I'm not so sure. I think...
That's a point I made. We're getting beat 3-2 with Trips on. We've got beat 4-0 with Livermento on.
Well, there you go.
Hang on. I'm going to make the point here. We sat here last week, me, Win, and the rest of the panel who were on at the time, and said that the best defensive display we've seen was against Chelsea. You know, and we said the reason for that was it was square pegs and square holes. Each player in that back four was the best player we had for that back four, and each one knew the job and wasn't having to think, I've got to cover for him a little bit, I've got to cover for him a little bit. I think we went into the game against Barcelona and put the two older guys back in regards to Burn and Tino, and then puts the doubt in Chow's head that, hang on, Trips isn't the best as getting back at the right back. Now I've got to cover him a little bit. And it puts the doubt in Jane Chow and Hall's mind. I've got to cover for Burn a little bit. He's not the quickest to get back. He's not the best we've got at getting back. So why change that defence that was so good against Chelsea for the Barcelona game? And the only reason I can give for that myself is because he wanted to get his favourites back in the team.
Well, do you know what, Borty? You see, for me, the defensive display we saw against Chelsea, I put that down to the setup in terms of the actual, the whole team. So I don't think it wasn't just the back four. I mean, I take your point. You know, Tino played in that back four and was part of that defensive setup and obviously played really well. But I feel like what we've done against Chelsea is something that we've rarely done all season. It was the team was compact. So the midfield supported the defence. The gap was not there. That we've seen countless times this season where the gaps are just everywhere between that defence and midfield area. Against Chelsea, they were mindful of what was behind them. They didn't all just flood the opposition box at the same time. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, to be honest. I was just thinking, like, am I really watching Newcastle here? Because we're actually compact.
You know what my question's going to be then?
Yeah.
Why didn't we do that against Barca?
I think the game was...
Go on, Sean, yeah.
I think a lot of that game, I think we started off like absolutely great for the first 15 minutes, didn't we? And a lot of them defence errors was a lot of schoolboy errors. We give Barca, they made mistakes. And Barca took the chances and finished it. But I think a lot of them couldn't handle that. I think it was too big. But I agree, I don't think we should have... Botman to Burn, I think Burn's a better player than Botman. But I just think the whole team didn't work. You know, there was schoolboy errors. Why, like the Ramsey? Why was he doing that pass? It was schoolboy errors, and I think that's what killed us in that game. We made our own mistakes and made it harder for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned Tino as well because I've seen games this season earlier where, I mean, I'm going to mention the Burnley game at home. I don't know if you remember that one, but the start of that game in the Premier League, his head, I don't know where it was at, but it was a strange opening to that match. He was playing right back and he nearly gave away the ball twice in our own box in the first 5 minutes. And I just feel like, don't get us wrong, I think he's a quality player and he's, you know, like you say, Borky, he showed it against Chelsea, what he can do. And in an ideal world, he would be our long-term right back. I'm just thinking if it's true that, you know, City are sniffing around and they're going to offer a record transfer fee for fullback, then do you not take it? What do you reckon, Sean? Would you take that in the summer if City came
in? I would take the offer from Tino, yes, but it's got to be a decent price. But then you got to look at it. Tino can also play left back, so I feel it'll be a big, kick to the squad because you got cover. He can play at left back if you want the cover. But then the question is, does Tino want to stay? That'll be the big downfall. But if big money comes in, then yes, I would let him go.
Yeah. And just quickly there, super chat again. Yeah. Cheers. Was that top man? You're clicking that way.
Fighting each other, lads.
Go on. So top keeper.
So when he says West Spain, listening to Spain, he's talking about top keeper, top central defender, top midfielder, and a top striker.
And a top manager.
There you go. Full set. It is looking like it may well. It's going to be so interesting in the summer because I think even, you just can't argue the fact that I think even Eddie Howe, his position is going to be a little bit up in the air. I think it will depend on what happens between now and the end of the season. But I just feel it. I just feel like, again, if I'm going to just go off how we've been so far, I'm not sure if we will get you up a league. I'm hoping we do. And that will definitely work in Eddie Howe's favour then in terms of you look at the market, you think, who's out there that can do a better job. But if we don't get you up a league, I think it's a fair point. It's a fair point to kind of question then, okay, what direction should we go in? Is there anyone who could maybe come in? But, I say that with a heavy heart because, Eddie Howe has worked wonders. But, yeah. So just going back to the summer there, we were talking about like Tino potentially going. Before I move on from Tino, so what would you do if City come in for Tino in the summer?
Like I say, I'd want more than 70 million.
Would you?
Because he's contracted to 2030 or something, isn't he? So I'd want more than 70 million.
I think the world record fee for fullback is 60 odd million.
Yeah.
So you're getting a world record fee there if it's 70.
A bit since.
And he's injury prone as well.
Yeah, well, we don't tell them that. We've got a player that they want. Make it worth our while.
Borgie?
I think I'd be looking at 80, without a doubt, 80.
I think the problem is what Wynn's looking at is Cloud Cuckooland because he's looking to get a world record fee for Tino, who's an injury-prone player. For me, you don't want to sell him. You want him to stay. He's a great player. He's a great right back, and he can cover left back. But if they come in with 70 million, if that's the rumour, it's a difficult one to say no to. But the one thing I would say is that this is Wilson's chance now, and this is where Wilson proves his worth, because we know all these rumours are around. He knows they're around. Have someone lined up to come in for him. Have somebody from another league or somebody that's going to cost well less and we're going to pay less in wages ready as a replacement. And we already know we need a left back, so why not just have a left back, definitely a right back as well, because I don't think Trips is going to stay for another season. Have them two players lined up for the start of the transfer window, get them in, and then if City do come in with a daft price for Tino, and if someone does come in with a daft price for Hall, you're not then panicking thinking we've got nobody to cover there. At least you've got the cover there, and then you go out again and you look for another player as a backup to them, to the new players that are brought in. So,
by the way,
he's got 2 years on his contract.
Guardiola is the most expensive fullback in history. It's 77 million, 90 million euros.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm saying preempt what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen.
That was 2023, so that's 3 years ago.
Okay. Go on, boy.
But this isn't just a case for the fullbacks. This is across the pitch. We've talked about Bruno. We've talked about Trips. We've talked about obviously the two fullbacks. Just be ready, and have players lined up to come in. That if these players do go, then we have players that we want to bring in for them. Don't do what we did with Isaac and end up with a 6th, 7th, 8th choice who turn out to be, well, disastrous if you want us to put it in stark terms.
I feel like I was talking about this with Timmy earlier on today, and you've got to back yourself in the market. If you get a war chest and you getting 70 million for fullback, and I think there'll be one or two others who obviously they're going to go as well, but you've got to back yourself to say, do you know what? We've got targets lined up. We can get quality players in here, and we can rebuild. So you should kind of relish that in a way. It's all part of football, isn't it? So in one way, it shouldn't be something to be fearful of, but it's that balance, though. That's the thing. It's the balance of you don't want to lose too many quality players and put too much pressure on yourself to, I guess, not fall behind that way and not regress. So, is that another super chat there, Win?
It is. Was I saying it's been bugging him since Sean came on the channel? He's got a double Andy Reid. I don't know who Andy Reid is.
Actually, yes. Who did he play for? Was it Charlton? It rings a bell. I'll have to let me have a look.
Come and have a look at this.
Was it Reading? Let us know, was it? You let us know.
Let's have a look. ID is it?
But yeah, I'm starting to kind of see maybe a resemblance. But unless it's someone else, I'm thinking if Borty's talking about someone else, I don't know. But I'm thinking about a former football player. Right, so just as well in the comments we've got Battle Axe there saying we may as well sack off academy players under Howe. How are we supposed to get big money for them if he never gives them a chance? I mean, yeah, I think obviously we've talked about that a few times this season in terms of the debate over should he give these players more minutes, basically. And I think there's definitely a case for a select few games we've had this season that you can point to and you can say, yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have seen more players come on against Karabakh in the home leg. Who's the striker? Sean Neve, yeah, and also the fullback, Shaha, yeah. I think that would have been really good to see, and I was really surprised that we didn't see them come on. But at the same time, I also always look at it and I think, do you know what? You have to bow down to the fact that Eddie Howe will watch these young players behind the scenes, certainly more than me. I mean, I can't sit here and say that I watched these kids. So, the academy and the under 21s, the standard apparently isn't great. That's what I hear. So it's, yeah, you got to kind of, in one hand, I kind of trust Eddie Howe's judgment, but I think I also can't argue with the fact that, yeah, Karabakh was a no-brainer to just test them out because the game was done.
And here we go. We've got the full squad. We've got
You're right, lads.
both the twins.
I finished graft. I thought I'd join you.
Is it a triplet? Is Borky a triplet?
Long lost.
Borky, you mean? Yeah.
I'm a lot better looking than these two.
Exactly.
I bow down to that, mate. I bow down to it.
We'll do a DNA test.
We'll let the public decide that.
Andy Reid is the ex-Forest player, by the way. Ex-Forest, ex-Charlton.
Charlton, I thought it was
I
Charlton.
know who you mean. He's played for Spurs as well. Midfielder, left foot. Sweet left foot.
And the Mackems, I believe.
Oh, he did, I. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, that's all right.
Right, so what do you reckon, Timmy? We'll just obviously we're talking about the academy there, and we're talking about Tino as well. I think you're of the same mind that you would sell Tino if we got that bid, 70 million. And actually, sorry, just before you pick up the baton there, the super chat. So, cheers, pal. Eddie SK is saying Eddie picking youth got more chance of him keeping Vernon Trippier in a Zimmer frame.
Zimmer frame.
There you go. What do you reckon, Timmy? What do you reckon about that, first of all, that super chat?
Yeah, I think this season, unfortunately, has shown that he's reluctant to give youth a chance. And like you said, there's got to be some context in that, you can't just throw players in left, right and centre from the youth team because it could cause more harm than good. But the Karabakh game is the one you can't argue with. For me, there's no world that you can kind of say that it was justified not to give the likes of Shahar some minutes in that, and that is an indication that he's very conservative when it comes to blooding youth. And if there's no pathway for youth players, we are not then maximising our resources in a PSR world, and that is a problem.
There we
You're
go.
blessed, Becca.
Give her the pose there, Sean. You need to be looking slightly to your right. There you go. Andy Reid and
Yep.
Sean.
He's got a point.
I think
don't
they've
know,
both
like.
got beards, and that's where the similarity ends.
I think I'm better looking though.
You have got that little twirly bit coming off your forehead. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very true. Yeah.
Just to see the little curly bit there.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe it is him.
I'd love to
maybe.
live in Wazza's mind, where he finds these little snippets from.
Don't know how long you want to live there, like, but top man there was a.
Yeah,
Yes,
indeed.
top bloke.
You muted, Peter.
Sorry. Okay. Sorted. Right. So what I was saying there was going to go back to the summer. So Timmy, we were talking before about Bruno and Tonali, and brought you through the grenade in the room. And to be fair, it made sense, because what he was saying was, if you had to sell one of them, would you not sell Bruno and keep Tonali, because Tonali is younger, he's got more years ahead of him. We were all saying, my opinion, I would just have to keep Bruno. But what do you reckon? If that bid came in, you could only keep one of them this summer, what would you do?
It is difficult, because if they were the same age, my answer would definitely be Bruno, and that's no slight on Tonali as a player. But when there is the age gap, there is a slight doubt in that way, because you've got more years with Tonali to give you. So honestly, it's cliche, but I can't see both sides. I mean, my instinct is to keep Bruno, because I did hear a bit on the way back what you were saying about Bruno, Peter, and kind of for that reason, in that some of his qualities are priceless, and his drive that he gives you, his leadership in his own way that he gives you, and his bottle on the ball, you're not going to get that very often. I'm not saying Tonali hasn't got bottle, but I think Bruno gives you that extra % in the trenches. So yeah, I think that's my instinct. And yeah, Tonali, the problem in a way is like with both of them, is that they are similar, aren't they? And I mean, I'd want to play two in a way in midfield, but I don't think they complement each other in that they want to do the same thing. You look at Tonali last night. I mean, he was outstanding first half. He was brilliant, but then the second half, and it's not all his fault, because I think the players were burnt out, and that's Eddie Howe's fault really tactically. But I think he didn't track that run, did he, Tonali? It was no defensive nous and instinct to track that run for that goal, and that's where we need number 6. Got a super chat from Wazova.
Oh no, Timmy in double jeopardy. Yeah,
Is that an old song?
We've got the Tommy Tipple. He's the brand, the mother care brand kind of thing for babies.
Is he? It's over my head, mate. Over my head. It's your
Most
era.
things it was that says are over everybody's head, to be fair.
Appreciate it anyway.
Aye,
Indeed.
cheers was that. So I just want to say as well.
Well, all I would say, the one big
Go on.
reason for wanting to keep Bruno over Tonali, logically, is for 8. However, even if we were to keep Tonali, we're kind of being programmed already to think he's definitely going to want to wear in the not too distant future. Whereas Bruno, if you gave him a new 5-year contract, that sees him out. He's not wanting to go anywhere.
Do you know what my big worry is? I'm beginning to understand what was I saying. So he's saying Tommy Tipple is in a dummy. Timmy is in for the rest of the night. So Tommy Tipple is the dummy brand, and Timmy's in with his dummy fame, obviously talking about what he's talking
you've been
about.
living in that head too long, Bookie.
Jesus, I'm beginning to worry. I need some time off.
So is that I'm working out, like, is that an insult or is it a praise? Insult, isn't it?
I don't think anything's an insult from
Playful insult,
from Wissa.
of course.
I think it's just his sense of humour.
I would love him.
We've got in the chat there as well, we've got Lucky Singh saying, what about this shop list? Elliot Anderson and Mateo Fernandez. And I can't say I've seen Mateo Fernandez play, but what I can say is that Elliot Anderson, and again we've talked about this, Timmy, but for me, I don't think he is the player that people make him out to be. I think he's a quality player, good central midfield player. He can pass, he can break up the play, but in terms of that final that shot, just in terms of scoring goals, getting on the end of things, threading balls through. I mean, we talk about Bruno, the way Bruno can thread a ball through. Elliot Anderson, I don't see that, and I'm not disrespecting him when I say that. I'm just saying I think he's a good central midfield player who is combative, who, like I say, will break up the play and keep things ticking along. But for me, he's not going to unlock doors no more than what Tonali can, and certainly what Bruno can do. So I personally think we've got that covered. We're just getting another player who has got qualities we've already got in the team, and I would argue players who are better than Anderson at that as well. Sean, what do you think about that?
Obviously, Elliot Anderson's a good player, but I don't see him fitting in our team. But then it's going to cost us a hell of a lot of chunk to get him back, isn't it? Though, you know what I mean, when we sold him.
Exactly.
But I don't go back over. I wouldn't want to go back over. You go forward. But I don't. He may be a player if you're going to go for him. Then he might be a player to have on the bench to bring on. But I don't see him as a starter.
Yeah.
Was that another super chat? Hey, win man, ho man, hey man, yo. Was it late? This is hitting in.
Yeah, I love what you're having, Wissa. That's all I'm saying.
He's on the Guinness again.
I think a lot of the thing what Anderson is based on the fact that he's a Geordie and he left with. If he was any other player at any other club, I don't think there'd be many Newcastle fans saying, we want that lad in at Newcastle.
I agree.
And I think we need to get away from the fact that he is a Geordie and he's done all right where he's went to.
Hang on,
we can go abroad and get better.
He hasn't just done all right. He's been man of the match for England.
Thing is, though, when he doesn't give you many assists, doesn't give you many goals.
No, and he doesn't score many goals. I know.
Unless he wants to be a number 6. And does he want to do that? Do we want to do that, obviously, as well? But I see him as fitting in that role potentially. But other than that, I think we've got players who can do what he can do. I think Ramsey can do what he
can do. If you are given the straight choice between, obviously, a fit Louis Miley and Elliot Anderson, who would you have?
Miley all day long for me.
But that's a completely unfair question as well.
But wouldn't you class that, mate? Anderson, isn't he like a Sean Longstaff?
Exactly.
And Sean Longstaff was,
That's a ridiculous question as well, because Anderson's went off to a lesser club and got game time. Miley stayed at a big club and doesn't get as much game time as he could. If he went off and did that, I think if Miley went any other club, he would prove himself to be probably better than Anderson.
You see,
Win trying to put our players up against our players, it's not a fair thing to do.
Anderson's not our player now.
Well, our ex-player up against our players, in which case?
I'm saying...
Geordie v. Geordie.
I would take... Well, that was before he got injured. There was talk about Miley. Maybe he's making the plane.
Well, who would you take, Win?
I would take Miley. And I love Anderson, by the way.
So what's the point you're making?
Because I just think we've got too many midfielders, and he still wouldn't get a game.
Miley could play number 6 for me. Unless we sign somebody new, which I'd be open to as well with a bit of pace in centre mid, I'd be looking to play Miley in that role, in the Caicedo role. And he's played right back. He's got that defensive now, so he can read the game even better than ever after doing that role. And he's got the technicality to play the ball forward as well. So I think we should play maybe him and Bruno, you could say, in it too, next season. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and that's it. Again, if you bring Anderson in, you're just limiting the chances yet again of the potential of Lewis Miley getting the game. And yeah, I agree. I think Miley, we've said on the show before, I think someone compared him in terms of potential to Vieira. And I know that is like massive high praise, and he's not Patrick Vieira right now, but he's got the same stature. And I agree. I think if you put him next to Bruno and you add some structure to that midfield, so they're not just it's not kamikaze, they're not just bombing on, doing what they want. Like if one of them sits, and if you say to Miley, you're gonna sit and just, survey the midfield and put out some fires, but keep the ball, keep it ticking along, then he's an imposing figure, I mean, he's only gonna get bigger and stronger. He's only 19, so yeah. And for me, Anderson, I mean, the money that has been talked about is just bonkers. It really is. Like, especially given the fact that we had to let him go in the first place. But that money could be spent, I think, so much better elsewhere. So yeah.
It's like someone said there, he could be like a Michael Carrick.
Yeah.
Just reading
Well,
that's a
down
really
that
good
route.
point.
Not going to go down well with Win, I know that. Yeah.
I can't believe you don't think Michael Carrick was a good player.
Oh, he was a cracking player.
He was a brilliant player.
I just think he was overhyped. I thought
Not scared again. Not scared.
He was a Sean Longstaff.
Well, I thought
He had a
Longstaff
very
had
good team.
You see, I thought Longstaff had the potential when he came through under Benitez. I saw Longstaff and I thought he could be like Carrick if he develops and he goes on to get games. I was thinking he's going to be the next Carrick, and I could see he had a kind of similar way of playing, and so I could definitely see similarities there, but I just don't think Longstaff quite managed to kick on in the same way and hit those heights that Carrick hit, because I just think, Carrick.
Well, I think Carrick.
Thread a ball
the
through.
reason I think Carrick hit the heights he hit was because of the players around him. Every good, we benefited from it when, when Longstaff first came in, when Eddie first came in, because we had good players, better players than we'd had for a while. And we needed that player to do. I still didn't know what he does yet, but whatever he did, a bit like Carrick. I never knew what Carrick did.
Through balls.
Whatever he did was the glue that held all of the magic bits together.
Yeah.
And that to me is what Carrick was in that wonderful Man United team. He was the glue that kept it together.
A player in Carrick's position, if you don't see them do much in a game and don't understand what they're doing, that shows you what a great player they are. Because if they're winning games and he's the one just making it tick over, he's the one, he's the unsung hero, if you like. He's the one that's the engine in the middle that nobody sees when he's going as fast as when the car's going as fast as it can. But a lot of the reason Man United had success was down to Michael Carrick. And look what happened when he retired.
Yeah, well, Craig Hope came up with a brilliant. This is when Longstaff was seriously being considered for England. And Craig Hope came up with a word I thought was fantastic. And he said, Sean Longstaff is probably the best facilitator in the Premier League.
But win. Sean Longstaff isn't fit enough to lace Michael Carrick's boots as a footballer. As a footballer, Michael Carrick was light years ahead of him. Absolute light years ahead of Sean Longstaff as a player.
Most people
and
think
that's
that.
Sean Longstaff can be.
Well, no. It's not most people think so. Look at the careers, mate. Look at where they've gone in their careers.
Yeah,
What
the team that Carrick had around him.
What Sean Longstaff done in life and what, say, Michael Carrick done in life, didn't kid yourself. Michael Carrick was a miles better player than Longstaff.
Well, look what he did for West Ham, didn't he? And then he went to Spurs, then to Man United.
Carrick was a holding player mainly, and Longstaff was
Yeah.
more box to box under Eddie.
But don't get me wrong,
Couldn't
I
get
think Longstaff's a
couldn't
good
get game for
player.
England.
But he used to, when I used to watch Longstaff, he did a lot of
What
ball
did you say
watching.
there, Win?
He couldn't get a game for England.
To be fair, though,
I think he got about 8
had
caps or something. Didn't
You
he?
had Gerrard and Lampard.
yeah, Nicky
Aye.
Butt was in there at the time as well. And,
Wolves.
Aye.
That's what I mean. That's
I,
how
I, I
he
thought I thought he had a hell of a pass on him, Carrick. He could.
How,
But if
how
you
many-
look at
how many-
Tonali's
how many
passes-
caps has Longstaff got?
He hadn't got any,
There you go.
but he wasn't. He wasn't playing
Argue
in the
your-
Man United
argue your own
team
point.
either.
We arguing your own point. 100% better off than Carrick than Longstaff, England wise.
Like I say, I couldn't say what Longstaff did. I couldn't say what Carrick did. And you're saying that makes him a great player. And I agree with you because, as you know, when I used to put Longstaff's stats up, the games he played compared to the games he didn't play, our results were chalk and cheese.
Honestly, have a look at the through balls Carrick would play for Tottenham, like you say, Sean. Not just Man United, for Tottenham and West Ham. That's not like the top level, and he was doing it for them for those teams. And then obviously he
Well,
goes
he was
to Man
doing
United.
something for Fergie to go and buy him.
Yeah,
Win.
He
You
was-
love
he
you
was
love your
creating
stats.
chances.
Look up how many leagues Carrick won, how many cups Carrick won. You know, do it off stats the day. I'll let you do it for you so you can do your little tippy tappy.
I'm
So go
not-
on, look up how many
I don't need to look it up because it was lots. But I'm saying it was as part of that fabulous Man United team.
so tippy tap up how much Longstaff's won.
Well, it didn't take any tippy tapping up at all.
Exactly. So Carrick's a miles better player.
No, he just played for a miles better team.
right.
I'm not
Well,
saying
what we'll
he's
do-
not a better. I'm not saying he's not a better player
So
than
hey,
Sean
would
Longstaff.
you, if you had Carrick, would you have had Carrick at Newcastle United from Manchester? Like,
No.
Would you have had? No.
No, that's the point
No.
I'm making. No,
Why?
because I didn't rate him.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one, I think.
Sean attack.
No. Listen, I absolutely realise that I'm in a tiny, tiny minority of people. I just think he's overrated. That's me.
So just going back right to the Chelsea match. So I'm looking at Craig Hope's article, and he's got some nuggets from the past week. So gonna just dive into that a little bit here. So he's mentioning about, you know, there was question marks about Wissa, wasn't there? Johan Wissa wasn't in the team photograph in the dressing room after that win, 1-0 win at Stamford Bridge. And there was some speculation about him not being happy, not kind of, yeah, he didn't want to be in the photo. That was the rumours going around, and he's not happy with Eddie Howe not giving him more game time. But what Craig Hope has said is that apparently Wissa was in the bathroom. He was in the toilets. So that was when they were taking the photo, apparently. So I don't think it's
Go.
exactly as Ian Malcolm once said. So yeah, like, I think fair play. You know, I think people maybe have jumped the gun on that to kind of assume that he's stinking out the place with his attitude and he's causing disharmony, etc. But it may well just be that, you know, he just wasn't in the photo because of the way it was timed. But I don't think at the same time, do you know what, before I elaborate, cheers, was that another super chat, top man. Let's have a look. So
Carrick's was even better than Greg's, man. Carrick's used to be a baker's in Newcastle for all of those years. Not old enough to...
we are a fan of that Carrick at
Carrick's
least.
was
Win.
bigger than Greg's as well, by the way, at the time.
So we are a fan of that one at least.
Well, I had a Carrick's at the bottom of my street. I used to go to Carrick's tea rooms in Grey Street.
You can.
They
Is
used
it
to
any
do
good?
big pastry on the pasties as well, which was a lot
bakery was
nicer.
at Cowgate, which is now called, when they knocked it down and built the houses, that's now called the Bakers. That's what they call the street.
There you go.
So nice one, was I? Showing your age, though.
Cheers, was that? Aye, so Wissa, like I say, I think whether he's kind of, because I don't think he'll be throwing teacups and kicking off like maybe it was made out, but I think he still undoubtedly will be frustrated because he's not getting a game, and Anthony Gordon is playing ahead of him, and even Asula is now coming on ahead of Yohan Wissa. And this is a player who was signed for 50-odd million in the summer, and he's fit now, apparently. And he has been fit for a little while. And for weeks now, he's not getting a look in. And yeah, I think it's a damning indictment of just how that signing has worked out. So, Sean, what do you reckon? I mean, we've got obviously the Mackems coming up on the weekend. We've got a couple of months left this season. Would you look at some point to bring in Wissa to give him some game time between now and the end of the season? What do you reckon?
Well, absolutely. I would, yeah. Like I would say, I would play that Nick Woltemade as well. I would play him. But obviously, as a striker, yeah, you're going to be frustrated that you're not getting game time. And I do think we should be playing him because you signed him for that reason.
Yeah.
But like we say, Eddie Howe's got his favourites, hasn't he? And that's
well. Let me put it this way, Sean. Do you think, would you play Wissa, and would you look at his performances as a way of kind of try to gauge whether you would keep him in the summer, or do you already think in your mind now, would you rule out selling Wissa? Do you think next season it's start fresh, you kick on, or do you think he's playing for his future?
He's going to be playing for his future, isn't he? But I don't think he's been given the chance.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He hasn't. But, you know, I think you need to put him in to play, to see if you're going to keep him. And if not, then don't play him and say, right, you're going. It's got to be simple, because it's not going to give his confidence any good, sitting on the bench.
Mm-hmm. True.
So, yeah, I say he should be playing.
Yeah.
Would drop Gordon, Sean?
No, I'll put Gordon on the left.
What do you reckon to me?
Bonds.
Yeah.
I think Bonds has perked up a bit the last two. I know Barca, obviously second half, everyone went to pot, but I think he has perked up Bonds the last two games in game and a half. I see what you're saying, like Sean. You know, we've bought Wissa for a reason. We think he's got something in him. Clearly, he can score goals. Maybe he can give those darting runs in behind. Certainly more than Woltemade can in that forward position. So, you know, I wouldn't be totally against it, to be fair. I just think, like, Anthony Gordon, even though he's not my cup of tea at times, and I would look to cash in the summer, I think he is playing that role very well up front, and he's making those runs in behind, and he's causing problems for defences, and he suits how we want to play. So I think maybe it's just quite harsh to drop Gordon right now in that centre-forward role. If I had my way, I would have Woltemade behind Gordon, but maybe that's something for next season. I think we're not going to rip up 4-3-3 right now. But I think, to be fair, what I would say just to end is that I think Wissa, I'd maybe give him more game time off the bench and say, look, come on, show us something, and then you could bring him in from the start sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Was it back again?
Certainly is.
It isn't fun when nobody knows what you're talking about. I knew what you were talking about.
Good old Carricks.
We enjoy trying to figure it out, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Always good to try and decipher was his mind. So Win, Wissa.
My big worry about playing Wissa on Saturday would be he's too used to passing the red and white stripes.
Jesus.
My big worry about Wissa is you talk about keeping him in the summer. I don't think there's a chance of him going anywhere. We paid so much for him last summer and give him such a big wage. There's no club going to come in and buy him or offer him the same wage. So we're stuck with him now. Was it a 4 or 5 year contract as he signed? I think it was a 4. we're stuck with him there for the next 4 years. Have we potentially just bought another Wilson to come in and be injured, sit around the bench and not really give anything, and probably, if I'm thinking about it, not as good as Wilson actually. You know, he's what has Wissa actually offered this team? You know, I don't want to be, well, I do that to me role. I'm here to be the downer, but it is a terrible sign if that's what we've ended up with, spending so much money. But as we all know, we're a club that has very little money to spend in regards to all these rules that are put in to stop we're doing it. We've spent a hell of a lot on what somebody on the panel called a silver bullet, and he's turned out to be a lead bullet who's rusting on the sidelines.
Yeah. Win. Bless you. Do you want to come back on that one?
I still think it can come good, but I think the problem we've got right now is that the next 8 games are so important that we can't afford to experiment.
Yeah.
So Win, what's he done in a Newcastle shirt for you to think he can come good?
Well, he's done nothing in a Newcastle shirt because, in my belief, he's never been fully fit.
Come on! You can't use that. You can't use that one now.
Well,
he's been back since December. That's 3 months. You cannot be using that. He's not fit.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
But I don't think he's been given an opportunity.
He's fit, but is he much fit?
I agree with that as well. But what I'm arguing is that the next 8 games are far too important to experiment with. We've got a side that was functioning, that was working, that was doing great in the league, away from home in the league even, and now is not the time. Let's
hang on. No. I can't let you have that one. We won 2 games away from home. What's our away from being like this season? It's been woeful. You cannot use them 2 games to go, whoa, we've got a great team away from home. We've got a terrible team away from home. We've just won 2 away games and now everything's fine in the garden.
No,
in fact, have we won 2 away games, or am I making that up? We haven't won 2 away games. We've won 1.
Playing Gordon up front since we started playing. Since we got rid of Woltemade back originally and out altogether.
Are you saying you play Wissa Borky? Who would you play Borky? Wissa?
Up front, Woltemade. We paid a fortune for him. But what I would do is I'd play a game around that lad. I'd set the team up to actually play the way he plays.
So we'll lose all the games.
Well, why would I want that? I'm a Newcastle fan.
Well, I don't know, but I want to try and
so
get.
Hang on. Why do in which case why do we pay £69 million for a striker that you're saying don't play?
That's bonkers.
I'm saying because he was unable. We didn't have time. We didn't have whatever.
Oh, don't start with that, Paul.
Well,
how long's he been here now? How long's that lad been at this club? How long's Woltemade been here?
He's been here
6 months?
September.
7 months?
Yeah, but the thing is, when
you can't sit and use the same excuse week in, week out. It doesn't matter about time.
It is because it is the same. It is the same reason, not excuse.
Well, it is. It's an excuse. We paid £69 million for a striker that you're saying don't play.
Correct.
Well, but them games he did play, and he scored. If you didn't play him in them games where he scored, where would we be now without them goals? But obviously we'd be in a worse situation, wouldn't we?
But I think the point.
What about the other 20 games after those goals? When
what I would say, right?
Which other striker scored in those games for Newcastle? If Woltemade was that bad, which striker came in and took his place because they were scoring so many goals in them games?
Well, that was Barnes.
Here's the thing, right?
Strikers, a forward, not a winger, a striker.
The strikers weren't striking; they were hitting duds.
Because the team wasn't set up around the strikers that we've got. That's the problem.
Well, that's the problem with the formation. I agree. No, but yeah, I agree. I think the formation does not suit Woltemade, right? Correct. And like for me, if you look back, he started really well, and like you say, Sean, he scored. He scored goals. He's got a decent tally. I think 10 goals, isn't it? 9 goals this season in all competitions. So, but you look at the games when it started to go to pot a little bit in terms of when that we went on that bad run, that spell where we played Brentford away, West Ham away, Brighton away. I mean, to be fair, Woltemade scored in that one, but there was a few other games there. I think, Brentford at home, he came on second half up top. And he was part of that team that was struggling. So I take your point. He started well. And we all, we loved the fact that he came in and hit the ground running. But it did seem, to me, it seemed to just hit a brick wall where he was struggling like every other player was. And yeah, like I said, that like Brentford away and West Ham away, he was getting gobbled up. Honestly, the defenders were just absolutely gobbling him up. And
what does that say for the decisions that were made in the summer than signing these strikers?
Yeah,
we went out and signed these strikers to play in the Premier League.
How many times we're going to go through this, man? They were 5th and 6th choice. We needed strikers. We didn't have a one.
I think ultimately Woltemade, like you said to me, he's crying out for a partner, and I just think this is why we're talking about who would you play, and this season we're talking about Wissa and Woltemade, and we've got Gordon up front. If I'm going to talk about who to play up front, and we're talking about this formation where it's the sole striker, I just, it's difficult for me to kind of put faith in Woltemade. Now, don't get me wrong, if he plays, I'd be really intrigued to see how he does, and I want it to come good. And I think ultimately he will need to be moved further up the field, because I think
seeing how he does.
Yeah,
just as a side note, what's this doing to those lads' confidence? We paid £55 million for Wissa. We paid £69 million for Woltemade. They're not even getting on as substitutes. They're sitting on the bench. It's probably the most expensive bench. Well, it is the most expensive bench we've ever had, where we're not using the players. What is this doing for those lads' confidence? But why not go in and play the two of them up front?
But I think with Eddie, though, is the team's built just to sit and just counter with pace.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think, like, to me, I wish we did that. I wish we did that more often. I think we just bomb players forward, but because the starting position of the formation means that Woltemade is playing against, more often than not, if he's playing up top, 2 centre halves.
Because he's stationary.
And that's the trouble, right? You say, with the team, you say support him, get players around him. That is difficult to do in that formation. If you play Gordon up front, he has got the pace to link up with the likes of, if it is Barnes on the left, or Murphy right, or Langer right, they can all keep up with each other. Do you know what I mean? Therefore, it's obviously quicker. It's easier to support that particular player up top. Woltemade, and again, this is not a criticism at all. It's just the fact some players are faster than others. Woltemade is not blessed with lightning pace. Therefore, he cannot keep up as much with the play with the likes of Gordon, if Gordon's left wing, or if Elanga's playing, because they're just different. They're running at different rates.
Yeah, but then Wissa would be able to, wouldn't he? Because he's quick.
Well, that's the thing. That's where it does get a bit baffling. That he's not getting more of a chance.
Ads here 10-14, thank you. Woltemade is a striker, end of. Eddie ruined him.
Eddie is destroying these two lads' careers. And he was sitting looking at it.
Well, it's not easy on the eye, though. He's mechanical.
So, but I'm saying Eddie Howe is sitting here now, potentially destroying two players' complete careers. You can't have players on the bench that are of that quality, and then just never play them. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, but the point is, you're saying that quality, but when they've been playing, they haven't shown that quality.
But have the team win. That's my whole point with this season. You can't blame individual players. It's down to the team, and if the team haven't set up around those players, so it's impossible for them to show the skills because they've not had the chance with a team that's playing towards them.
Yeah, but if you look what he's doing for Germany, though, Nick, and even his coach has said, I can get him 70 closer, I'll even get him an extra 30. So he's saying, I'll get him 90% closer to goal to finish. And look at his record for Germany.
What formation is he playing? That's
He's
the
playing
thing.
That's the
Is he-
striker,
is-
isn't it? That's what he's saying. That's
Is it
what
one
they're
up
saying. he's
top
playing.
or is it two up top?
No, I don't know about that part, but I know that he's scoring. He's banging goals away for Germany, as you can see.
I mean, again, I'm playing devil's advocate, but is that not against the likes of Luxembourg and San Marino? I don't know. You know, I'm just
Northern
putting it out
Ireland.
there. The level is not going to be quite as high, is it?
But then, if you want to look at that, wasn't Nick linked with Bayern Munich to go to Bayern Munich as their striker? So it must be
Yeah.
that good to go to Bayern Munich to go under Harry Kane, who's banging goals away.
Well, that's the thing. He would be a really good
and
foil. for
Bayern
Kane.
Munich wouldn't go above 60 million for him. That's euros.
That's the thing, Sean, right? I agree, and I think Woltemade behind Kane would be brilliant because they would link up. And again, it's going back to bringing back these kind of partnerships that you used to see in football, and that's probably what they would have done. I mean, then you're not gonna drop Harry Kane, surely. So I would have thought they would have played them both, and I think that ultimately is what it's gonna come back round to. You know, all this kind of debate about Woltemade. I just think like ultimately we're gonna need to see him play with a partner, and that's where I think he would flourish. But we just seem to kind of stick with this formation, and I can't see that changing this season. I think it's
Peter,
going to be
just to
Go
play
on, Paul.
devil's advocate a little bit. You can we stop saying we? It's Eddie Howe that's choosing to play this formation. He could have chose to start trying with the two strikers up front a lot earlier in the season against the likes of you've said. I can't remember if they were both fit for Karabakh, but when we were heading to certain games, put them two on together and see what they're doing. Even from the very start of the season when we were drawn, you know, why not chuck the two of them on and you know, see that we can build up a partnership? He's never tried to do that. They've had
Thing is, though-
seconds in games
Yeah.
and seconds where they haven't. Why hasn't that been tried? Why hasn't he tried that experiment?
Thing is, though, boy, we should have tried two strikers, you know? No, so,
Yeah, 100%.
but yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's both, in my opinion. It's both in terms of Woltemade. There has been times you take away formation, you take away the manager. There has been times where he has, whatever you want to call it, lackadaisical. He's been rusty, whatever. He gave the ball away poorly. So you know, I'm not gonna say he's, you know, the Messiah and he's done nothing wrong. I think there has been games where he's let himself down, but you know, it comes back to what you're saying there, Borky, in that I think Eddie Howe's danced around the whole thing. He's played him as an 8, he's played him as a 9 on his own. He's done everything apart from playing with a partner, and that's the elephant in the living room. So that's what I want to see, and I do find it amazing that we signed him for 69 million and didn't have that in mind clearly, or haven't tried that for whatever reason before now. And I know he does play a 9 for Germany with in the 4-3-3, but I've heard that, you know, somebody said in the comments they get men around him a lot more. I mean, you know, could we do that? Could we play narrow wingers? Again, it's a different system, I suppose, but maybe in the Premier League that's more difficult. I just think
I'm
ultimately
trying
the
to remember,
solution...
what was the game when he did start Woltemade and Wissa?
It was
One
in the
game that he did.
Bournemouth FA Cup game. I don't know, to be honest, if he was in an 8 then, because he was very deep, but he definitely played Wissa and Woltemade in the Bournemouth home
And he
game.
put them both on for Brentford at home second half, and it didn't work, to be fair. But it's not enough time to judge it. I mean, second half, it all went to pot. But from what I could tell, because he was desperate.
Just out
that
of
much.
interest, by the way, Woltemade's Germany goals. He's got 4 and 8. He was substituted against both Portugal and France. And his 4 goals, 1 against Northern Ireland, which, if you remember, came off his shoulder, 2 against Luxembourg, and 1 against Slovakia.
So, Wayne, what's Harry Kane's goal scoring record for England? You look at the teams he's scored against. You're bringing up numpty stats again to prove your point, which can be completely deflected.
Harry Kane against everybody.
No, Harry Kane has not scored all his goals against big teams. So using that is a ridiculous thing to try to do.
You're
trying to say, oh, he scores against little teams. Harry Kane hasn't scored any of his goals against little teams. You look back, mate.
Woltemade hasn't scored any of his goals against big teams.
Do
Harry
all your
Kane
research.
scored
Do all
millions of
your
goals
research.
against
Do
good
all
players.
your research.
Doesn't a striker?
How many goals What goals? Who teams? Harry Kane scored
Just
against?
don't even
You know, you
even
just
try and compare Baltimore
well,
and
well,
Harry Kane.
well, I can because you're trying to say Baltimore's not a good striker. That's a 50% strike rate in international football, and you're trying to play it down against one of our own players. Why are
Yeah,
you
but
sitting there trying to play it down with own players?
doesn't a striker, it doesn't matter who they score against, a goal's a goal.
A
Take
goal's a goal.
Haaland. He doesn't care if he scores against Poland or Slovakia. It's a goal's a goal. That's what a striker looks for, is banging that ball in the back of the net.
100%, mate.
To be fair, I agree, but I think the point is that it's not. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can just copy and paste that same setup in the Premier League week in, week out. You know what I mean? I think, again, I just think it needs tinkering. But no, I mean, clearly he's talented. He's a talented lad, and he's got skills. He's got an eye for goal. So and doing it at a national level, yeah, I'm not going to diss that. I think, like you say, you can only score against who you're playing in front of. But yeah, I just think as well, like I say, maybe the Premier League is a different pace to international football. But it's a conundrum. It is a conundrum, and I think, like we've said tonight, I just think
It's a riddle wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a conundrum.
I think he's screaming out for a partner. I think that's what it comes down to, like you said to me. But do you know what Craig Hope is reporting is that out of the two, so Craig Hope reckons Woltemade would be more likely to leave than Wissa if you were going to look at those two and if there's going to be any activity in terms of outgoings. I think, according to Hope, Wissa's quite settled in the northeast with his family, and he wants to obviously make it work. And I think they're looking at Wissa to say it's kind of a refresh in the summer. Just get to the summer. I mean, but you're right, Sean. I do agree that I think between now and then it would be good to see him. I mean, maybe I think the derby is too much of a risk. I agree, Win. I think I think maybe is a game for Gordon up top, but you get that out of the way. I mean, Wissa can still come on from the bench, and after that, I would be looking to play him up top to see what he's got and get him in his stride so he goes into next season with a bit more confidence. Yeah.
Can I just quickly give a couple of the teams that Kane scored against just to disprove Win in regards to this? If he's international goals, 7 are against Albania, 5 are against San Marino, 4 against Bulgaria, 4 against Malta, 4 against Montenegro. 3 are against Latvia.
No, do the rest.
So come on.
No, do the rest.
Be honest with yourself.
No, do the rest.
All international players score against lesser teams. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
about
do the
half
rest.
of his goal. That's about half his goals straight away against lesser teams.
No, do the rest.
I'm not calling Kane out. I'm saying Kane's a good player, but I'm saying don't use your stats about games players are scored against, to bring up a point. You can do it for any player internationally wise that they've scored against lesser teams. That's right.
Well, on that note, we've got less than a minute left. So, Win, I'll let you see us out, shall I?
In what respect?
Do you
Well,
want
I
to do
tell
the
you what,
outro?
we haven't done any super chats. Let's do a few super chats. Wonder how the players are expected to run a marathon again because the team can't play football. They are risking injuries and fatigues at levels that other clubs wouldn't, says V for Vendetta. David Spence, we got to keep key players, but if players want to leave the club, it's their choice. We can't do nothing about it, in my opinion. Steve Waldo, Burn currently better than Botman. Gaz, NUFC, you can never be an elite side if you become a selling club. You've got to build on your top players to get to the next level, or you stand still. Marxism, if a good game is controlled performance over a full 90 minutes, this season you'd have change, counting them on one hand. Lads, question, if Sunderland beat us on Sunday, is your undying faith in Eddie gone? Nope. I don't think anybody else has got undying faith. Vendetta back again under how the play. Oh no, I've done that one. That's it. That's the lot. And well, you want me to sing you out? Did you say? Did we have a song?
No, definitely not. No way.
I
I'll
think
just
I
have
hope that.
I'll hand the
Go on,
controls over to you, Win, in terms of seeing us out, ending the broadcast with the.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks,
But
everybody.
now you mention it, Win. Now you mention it. You want to sing us out?
The party's over. It's time to call it a day. We rent that pretty balloon. Gotta go, folks. Have a good
Now,
time.
Eddie Howe, get away.
Oh, I'll end on that. Oh, well, the lads.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the lads.